As names like Chapman, Travis, and Vickery start to become more synonymous running at the top of the Hometown Heroes series, other drivers continue to scramble their way to take the top prizes. In the 305s, Blake Chapman looks nearly unstoppable, but the 360s and Pro late models are a different story with much tighter championship standings. Tonight, we'll continue to follow all of the action as the Virtual Grip and Coast to Coast Racing Networks welcome you to the Icon Sim Sports Hometown Heroes series live from Volusia. My name is DJ Clark, and on behalf of the Virtual Grip Network, my partner here in the booth, JR Shepard, and as well as everyone behind the scenes at VGN, we'd like to thank you for joining us here tonight. We have 3 separate events to get through, so a lot of dirt track action is in store, and with 2 category sprints and pro late models slated to take to this Florida dirt track, it is guaranteed to be a night of great action. But before we get to that, we would like to thank our sponsor for tonight's pre-race show, the Pitside Podcast. Well, JR, this is going to be our 4th trip to Volusia with the same lineup, but for those who are joining us for the first time, what can you tell us about this track?
Yeah, DJ, this is a great track. So it's a half-mile D-shaped oval. Opened back in 1968, has dirt. In 1989, it actually went asphalt. They went asphalt racing here. NASCAR actually ran some races here, but it returned back to its roots in 1997, went back to the dirt. This track, again, it's a great track, multi-groove racing. Definitely when it's got a lot of moisture in it, you're going to go to the bottom early. That's where you're going to get your most benefit and most gains in lap times. But as we get more cars, more laps around this track, that moisture is going to go away. The groove's going to go up top. You should get some multi-groove racing though, as that transitions. But yeah, you're definitely going to be the high line, I think, ultimately at the end of the day. The 305 sprints, they're pretty much going to be wide open around here. As we transition to the 360s, you're going to have to work that throttle in order to get the grip that you need. And really the corners narrow up on exit, especially off of turn 4. Off of turn 2, you've got a lot of options to kind of swing out wide, and that gives you options going into turn 3 to kind of run multi-grooves. Try to make a move on somebody. If you want to try to do a slide job, that may be a place to do it.
Well, we'll have to watch for all of that. And also for those uninitiated, the format for tonight is standard dirt racing fare. Drivers are out on track right now for practice. We'll then head into qualifying and then a series of heat races with the top 4 advancing to the A main. All setups tonight are fixed, and cautions will be turned off in everything but the feature race. 24 drivers overall will make the feature. And as we get ready to check out our first race here tonight, which is the A&J Custom Creations 305 Sprint Series, we currently only have 23 drivers out on the track, so we might not have any bumping, JR, which would be a first for us. We are used to some pretty big fields out here.
Yeah, absolutely we are, and this is some very, very tight competition that these guys put on each and every week. So, yeah, I think some guys are going to feel really good if there's no bumping tonight. They know they're guaranteed a spot in because, yeah, like we said, these guys really go at it. They race really hard, really respectful, but the racing's always really tight, especially on lap times.
It certainly is, and especially considering that the track state does not reset at any point during the night. That's right, we stay out with the virtual water trucks. Do not come out here and reset this track at all. It just continues to slick in more and more over the course of the night and make more and more of a challenge for these drivers, sending that cushion higher and higher up the track, JR.
Yeah, it's going to for sure. So like we said early on, especially in the 305s, you're wide open. You're going to stay right around that bottom. You can see in practice, we've already got where the cars have moved around and kind of widened out the track a little bit. It's still going to be the fastest at the bottom, have the most grip down there. But as they put more and more laps onto this, that cushion's going to move up and up and up, and that's where you're going to be able to maintain your momentum.
And in these 305s, it is all about momentum around here. You want to keep that speed up. These lower horsepower machines a little bit trickier to do. And we'll be joined a little bit later on in the night by John Hine, who is our in-race reporter. He is currently out 11th in that qualifying practice session. Jeff Flaro currently at the top of the charts. The Canadian putting on a little bit of a surprise performance. JR, I'm a little surprised to see Blake Chapman as far down as 17th.
That's definitely surprising. You know, maybe maybe he actually hit the track a little bit later than some of these guys when that moisture's really out there and you have a ton of grip. You can really throw down a fast time. So maybe he hit the track a little bit later, but we'll have to see. Maybe just we have different track conditions this week.
And you saw up there the championship standings presented by Sim Racers Hub. Blake Chapman currently leading over Randy Trevis and Nick Vickery right now in this 305 series. We have different championship standings for each set of cars that are out there. So always presenting sort of a different way to approach it. And as we continue to get going on this practice session, seeing a lot of drivers pushing that cushion up. There you can see the official points table. Chapman, who has been nearly untouchable at the top of these 305s, pulling out a pretty sizable margin of about 60 points there. Trevis doing a good job as well to keep about a 40-point advantage for himself. A little bit closer back there between Vickery, Patton, and further down the order. But as I said, drivers just finishing up their practice sessions here. We'll have a 3-minute, 2-lap qualifying session as I'm seeing that practice checkered flag waving right now. So we are about ready to get going for qualifying. JR, high line, low line, what are you taking to put the fastest lap down here over 2 laps?
I'm thinking, especially in these 305s, you're going to have to be at the bottom. But I don't know. I mean, track conditions could be different. We saw some guys, like we talked about, Chapman being a little bit slower in practice, so maybe the track's a little bit different than what we've had in the past weeks. But I would expect guys to be down at the bottom right against that inside wall.
Well, we'll have to see as we watch drivers starting to take to the track in the ABR Setup Shop qualifying session here. Nathan Aldrich, one of the drivers that's going around, Andy Patton, Roger Craig, everybody out on track. Aldrich right now on your screen in that 514, taking a high line around here, maybe trying to carry a little bit more momentum, waiting for times to start coming in. I'm seeing Aldrich definitely quick. Andy Patton looks to be one of the faster drivers, though, and indeed he is going to be up to the top of the charts right away. Barker, Craig, John Hine, our very own John Hine, coming in the second behind him.
Absolutely. That was an impressive lap by Patton. Certainly going to be hard to beat based on what we saw in practice. And yeah, John Hine put a nice lap up there. Looks like we got Gary Taylor jumping up into fourth, third Pat Boyce right now.
Jamison able to bump his way up there, and there's the Blake Chapman we sing about around the campfire. He is able to bump his way up into the top position, but Ross Cortana able to take that right away from him. And now, as is tradition here, we are ready to turn over the microphone to Mr. John Hine, who is going to walk us through a little bit of what it's like to drive out here at this Volusia Speedway.
Yeah, guys. Hey, here we are once again at Volusia. This is a great little track, and you know what? We've seen great racing all season. And again, as I'm driving around here, the fans need to know, they think of dirt racing mostly as an oval. Well, this is a traditional, more of a D shape. This back straightaway having this curve in it, you're going to see a lot of action here. To go fast, you've got to swing out and come in, and you want to be right down against this wall. But when you swing out and take that late entry, the guy behind you a lot of times might see that as an opening and try to stick his nose in there. You'll see guys come together at that point. And then the same thing down here, except for it's in the opposite. You'll see guys at the bottom, you'll see guys at the top. But to go fast here, you want the car to swing out, let it get straight, let it unwind. You don't want it binding as you're keeping the car down. You want to swing out. Well, if there's a guy out here and a guy on the bottom, that guy on the bottom swings out, you're going to see contact made there. So, there's a lot of things around this track that happen. It happens very fast. This is a very, very quick track. I expect nothing less than spectacular racing all night.
Hey, John, walk us through how the track conditions are right now. So, typically we see a little bit more moisture in this track early on. Looks like that groove's kind of spread out a little bit. Do you have options early on to kind of go a little bit higher, or is the inside lane still preferred?
The inside lane's preferred, but you know what? I wouldn't be a bit surprised if you see guys dominating the corners, entering high and then coming down low. But again, you've got to know where people are around you, or that can cause a problem too.
Well, thank you, John, and good luck out there. But we are ready to go racing here for the first heat presented by the Super Dirt Car Series, lining up in pole position. This is an invert, by the way, of the top four. Connor Ross will be lining up in pole, followed by Pat Boyce with Jeff Flaro and Ross Coritana in P4.
Yep, P5 will be Roger Craig tonight. P6 will be Andy Piercefield. 7th place will be Chris Schaefer. And 8th place will go to Mike Cranmer.
Well, JR, always good to see a new name popping into the charts, and Coritana able to get in there right away into the pole position. That number 010 machine certainly looking strong out here, and maybe an early favorite to dethrone Blake Chapman.
Absolutely. Great lap that he put down in qualifying. He's obviously got a lot of speed and is very comfortable with this track. So be interesting to see what he can do in this heat and see what happens after that. But I expect him to go to the front here.
Indeed, and we talked about momentum, we talked about that, we talked about the sliders and the different lines, but especially in these heat races where the track really hasn't slicked in all that much, how hard do you think it's going to be to pass around here in these lesser powered 305s?
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty difficult, especially with only 8 laps to get it done in. So you're going to have to look for opportunities, kind of like John mentioned. If somebody leaves the door open, you're kind of going to have to go for it. You can't hold anything back in these heats. Short amount of time to get it done. So I think that's going to be your best opportunity to pass. I don't think you're going to be able to just go to a different groove and set someone up. I think you're just going to have to take any opportunity you can get.
Well, those opportunities are going to get ready to present themselves as the field watches over to Connor Ross, and the Steve King Foundation Pace Truck brings the cars around here to start off the first event of the Icon Sim Sports Hometown Heroes Series in this, the A&J Custom Creations 305 Sprinter Series. Here we go, waiting for the green flag. It is out in the air. It is not the best of starts for Connor Ross. Pat Boyce able to get a little bit of a run to the outside. There is Corienta trying to get that run in that number 10 machine, but he's going to find a roadblock up ahead of him as Pat Boyce and Jeff Flaro are running side by side for P2.
Absolutely. Inside line looks like it's picked up really well, but Boyce looks like he's holding on pretty good on the outside there. But yeah, turn 1 and 2, I believe the inside's going to prevail. Shorter way around the backstretch.
Indeed, and that inside line proving out for Flaro and Corienta as they work their way around here. Starting lap 3, Corienta fully into third place now, able to get that nose to the inside of Jeff Flaro in the 200 machine. It's the 10 and the 200 side by side as they go down to the backstretch, but Flaro a little bit of an attempt to cut off Corienta. We've got a car around. That's Roger Craig.
Yep, got to spin. No cautions in this one. Everybody's going to keep going. That's going to hurt him long term tonight. We'll have to see if he can come back from it.
Low of the field count as we have, he'll at least be able to have some solace that he'll make the A-main. We continue around here, working halfway done. Still the main battle here for P2. Ross Corienta working his way around. He's got a nose ahead as they exit turn 2, but that momentum favoring Jeff Flaro. They drive the car down into 3 and 4, and we're Noah's Ark there behind, as that is Chris Schaefer trying to make a move on Pat Boyce for P3 as well.
Yeah, this is great right now, DJ. It's very, very early on, but it looks like we do have 2 grooves of racing. The outside is hanging in there really tough. Flaro showing us that up front right now, but looks like he's going to ultimately fall back to third.
The same is true back there in that 5th place position as Chris Schaefer. Looks like the 23 has been able to get its way ahead of the 41 of Pat Boyce, and that is crucial because that is the automatic transfer position. You can also see there Ross Corienta able to move his way up into 2nd wholesale ahead of Jeff Flaro as they take the white flag here at Volusia in this first heat race presented by the Super Dirt Car Series. Here they go into 3 and 4 for the final time. Corienta able to hold that inside line, but it's Connor Ross up front that takes victory, followed by Ross Corienta, Jeff Flaro, and Chris Schaefer automatically advancing into the A-main event tonight.
Great job by those guys. I think we saw early on grooves on the bottom, but we do already see that we have multi-grooves of racing. Going to be a good night.
And the rest of that field, Pat Boyce, Andy Piercefield, Mike Cranmer, and Roger Craig obviously having that spin. They're going to have to reset and go into the B main, but we're ready for the second heat here today. This second heat presented by Pet Partners, and lining up in pole position for this, it's going to be Carter Jamison, followed by GJ Boydell, with our very own John Hine in 3rd, and series points leader Blake Chapman in 4th.
5th place, we have Ryan Bayer tonight. 6th will be Jeffrey Kemper. 7th is Nick Shell. And 8th place will be Randy Shrevis.
A lot of heavy hitters in this heat, JR. This is going to be one that I think is going to get very, very contentious. Boydell, Hine, Chapman, 3 of the fastest drivers on track at any point.
Absolutely. Be interesting to see if that inside line is a little bit faster during this heat compared to the first heat. We're definitely going to see some side-by-side racing, but I think John's in a good place being in that 3rd spot. The guy we're really going to keep an eye on is Shrevis back in 8th. We'll have to see how much ground he can make up here.
Yeah, a bit surprising to see Randy all the way back down in the field, especially considering he is 2nd in points there, so just not able to put a good qualifying together for the 56 machine and the LGR Motorsports team, as he's going to be looking to move his way forward. But as we saw in that first heat race, it looked like a lot of passing was possible and be able to get by.
Yeah, it was definitely surprising. I thought it was just going to be a single groove track starting out, and we wouldn't get this type of racing until a little bit later on, maybe even the A main. But yeah, it's a track's already there, so we're definitely going to see some side-by-side racing. I think it's still early enough that the inside is the favorite, but yeah, if you're able to hold that guy down, you can make the outside work, it looks like.
Indeed you can, and you heard us mention it on that last lap. The pace truck here tonight is the Steve King Foundation pace truck, and if you're unfamiliar with the foundation, it was formed to help the dirt track racing community across the country by providing financial assistance to drivers, pit crew members, racing officials, and track operative personnel, and the immediate families of those individuals who suffer serious illness, injury, or death. Check them out at stevekingfoundation.org. It is a truly, truly great charity, and we are honored to have them being the title sponsor of the pace truck here tonight. But we are ready to go racing here as that pace truck's going to pull off, giving control of the field over to Carter Jamieson. Jamieson on early. John Hine looking very aggressive there, trying to get down to that inside. He's going to start to put the moves on G.J. Boydell. Boydell running that car up wide. Blake Chapman, a bit of a loser out in that. He's going to find himself blocked up in the track behind, really unable to go anywhere.
Yeah, he really is. Hines sitting here racing for 2nd with Boydell. The inside line's looking good. I believe on the backstretch here he's going to be able to pull away, having that shorter distance.
Is indeed, and it looked like a little bit of a checkup for the number 8 of Carter Jamieson coming off of the corner, as that's Blake Chapman starting to poke his nose down to the inside, thinking about making this 3 wide. There goes John Hine, making a move for the lead, able to dive the 71 down to the inside. Contact with Carter Jamieson. That's going to take out Jamieson and G.J. Boydell. They fall down the order, and that's going to promote Blake Chapman into 2nd. Randy Shrevis up 5 into 3rd.
Wow, Shrevis making some big moves early, already in the transfer spot here. Actually one ahead of the transfer spot in 3rd. Yeah, we got a car down to the inside, guys falling off from that incident, so I think we're just going to see the top 4 probably pull away here.
And indeed, Ryan Bayer, the only car out there that looks like he is able to keep running out of all of that. A big kerfuffle causing the rest of the field to calm down, as we see Hine and Chapman spacing out just a little bit. Chapman diving a little bit deeper into the corner, maybe able to carry some speed around the outside. I don't know, JR. It looks like Blake Chapman's itching for a fight here.
I think he absolutely is, and if nothing else, he's learning a lot about what the track state is and where he needs to place his car.
We're going to go back and check out this replay. As there you can see just contact between Jamieson and Hine, and that is going to send him and Boydell out into that outside wall. And then it looked like there was just some residual contact there that caused Nick Schell to get into it with Ryan Bayer. Yeah, there you can see the 512 working its way around. But we've got to go back up front and to live pictures, because John Hine is barely holding on to a lead over Blake Chapman right now as they work their way out of the final corner for the last time. It's going to be John Hine taking heat victory, followed by Blake Chapman, with Randy Shrevis and Jeffrey Kemper automatically advancing in this 2nd heat.
Yep, saw some good hard racing out there. I think these guys are learning a lot about what the track state is and what they need to do moving forward tonight. It's already changing a lot. I'm very surprised.
It is indeed, and there you can see Ryan Bayer, the last of the drivers that was really able to finish there. Nick Schell able to limp the car around back in 12 seconds behind. G.J. Boydell and Carter Jamieson also not advancing out of that heat. But it is time for the 3rd and final heat race tonight. This one presented by the World of Sports podcast. And lining up in pole position for this, it's going to be Jeff Barker, followed by Gary Taylor, with Brendan Lacey and Andy Patton behind them.
5th is Dan McLaren. 6th is Dustin Sargent. 7th will go to Nathan Aldridge.
So only 7 cars here out on track right now, but Barker doing a good job. Patton was putting down some very, very good times in qualifying. 3rd overall, he is certainly one to watch out for to move his way forward, I think, JR.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. He's going to be the one you want to pay attention to see how much ground he can make up, or if he can even possibly get up there and race for the lead. But he is on that outside line right now. No, I think he's going to be on the inside line. We'll see here in just a second. But yeah, he's got some ground to make up, but it'll be interesting to see how much he can get that done.
Will indeed, as that Steve King Foundation pace truck brings the cars around through 1 and 2 for the final time under yellow. We will get going green here in just a number of corners. Field itching to get going. There you can see everybody out on track, just waiting. Always a tense moment before you get going here, as you can feel the nerves starting to build. Steve King Foundation pace truck pulling off into the pits, and the green flag is in the air. Barney, the flagman, letting it fly. It's a very good start for Jeff Barker. He's able to get ahead. Brennan Lacey diving down to the inside. He is going to be able to force Gary Taylor around wide, I think, as they're going to be going out very spread out. A little bit of contact there.
Yeah, these guys are racing really aggressive, really tight early on. It looks like these cars are just able to go just about anywhere right now. So these guys are really searching around and trying to find an opening. Like I said earlier, you got to go as soon as you can.
Going as soon as he could was Gary Taylor, able to get some mega momentum around that outside to make the high line work around here. They're almost 3 wide in the back, though. That's Patton, Lacey, Sargent, Aldrich, everybody together, and I believe that's Jeff Barker flipping off in the background.
Absolutely. Big wreck there going into turn 1. Took a couple of guys out of the running here. We still have 5 guys running for it, though.
We do indeed, and a very good battle shaping up right now between Dustin Sargent and Nathan Aldrich as they try to battle for that final transfer position. The 377 and the 514 closing down on one another. There you can see this is also a battle starting to brew up. Brennan Lacey working on Andy Patton.
Absolutely. These top 3, they know they know as long as they mess up, they're not going to have to worry about not making it into the A main, automatically transferring here. But yeah, Taylor has pulled away to a sizable lead. I think he's going to be able to hold on to that. The race is going to be between Patton and Lacey, I think, but it may come down to the last lap.
Indeed, as we've got a nice little set of couplets here. William Shakespeare would be proud. Andy Patton and Brennan Lacey, Dustin Sargent, and Nathan Aldrich duking it out on lap 7 here of 8. So 2 to go as they cross over the line. Waiting to see what it is. No movement thus far, but that's going to be Brennan Lacey trying to work a high line here. I think Andy Patton saw that coming, decided to throw a little bit of a slider. White flag in the air as they work their way around. Patton up on the high line, as is Brennan Lacey, trying to keep those cars as close as possible. Lacey thinking about going down to the inside. He is going to go to the inside. They'll be side by side as they cross over, but momentum will favor Patton. And it is going to be Gary Taylor, Andy Patton, Brennan Lacey, and Dustin Sargent transferring to that A main. So we run you through that final finishing order there in that 3rd heat race presented by the World of Sports podcast. As we said, Dustin Sargent, the last driver to transfer, Nathan Aldrich, Dan McLaren, and Jeff Barker not able to advance. But that is going to bring us already to the Chip Bangers Racing B main event here. And this is an automatic transfer for all cars. All drivers will make the main race here tonight. It's just a matter of where they will start off. But starting off in pole position here, it'll be Pat Boyce, followed by Ryan Baer, with Nathan Aldrich and Andy Piercefield behind them. Nick Schell will start off in 5th, with Dan McLaren next to him in 6th.
Starting 7th will be Mike Cranmer. 8th place will be G.J. Boydell. 9th will be Jeff Barker. 10th, Roger Craig. And 11th place will be Carter Jamison tonight.
All right, so there are definitely some good names starting down in this field. They're going to want to work their way forward. I've got my eyes particularly focused on the 014 of G.J. Boydell, the Canadian driver, obviously suffering that crash during his heat race. He is, I think, going to be on a little bit of a move and a little bit of a mission here, JR.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right on that. I'm also going to be watching Jeff Barker here and see what kind of ground he can make up. He had a pretty good run going in that heat race until contact was made. So I'd like to see what kind of speed he has and where he moves around on the racetrack to make his moves.
Well, we saw that high lane really starting to play out there to some pretty good efficacy in that final heat race. So maybe that's a little bit of a changing of the tide, the cushion moving up the track and helping drivers out to get some more momentum on the high side.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct on that. You can already see how the how about a lane off the very bottom of the track, it's already starting to get really slick. The moisture's pretty much gone out of that area of the racing surface. So unless you're able to hold it down right against the inside wall, there's not much grip down there compared to that outside lane. And these guys are just going to be able to keep their momentum up and keep that grip into the right rear tire by running that higher line.
Indeed, they will. And this is a 10-lap event here. No cautions yet again. And as we said, all drivers will automatically transfer to the A main. It's just a matter of where they will end up. But Pat Boyce going to take control of the field once the Steve King Foundation pace truck gets out of the way. And there it goes, pulling off into the pits. Green flag is in the air. It is a big jump for Pat Boyce, as that's going to allow for Nathan Aldrich to get up the inside. Little bit of squirreliness in the middle there. That's Andy Piercefield getting very, very sideways. Ryan Bayer trying to fight back on Nathan Aldrich for that P2 spot as they dive their way through 3 and 4.
Inside line's going to work very early here for the first lap and a half while these guys get their momentum built up, and then I think that outside line's going to start to be the dominant way around.
Well, you saw it there, the 89 of Don McLaren starting to use that outside line a little bit on the 175 of Andy Piercefield. Piercefield getting mogged absolutely in the middle of the track there. Looked like he was standing still. They're still side by side for P2 between Bayer and Aldrich.
Absolutely, these guys really racing it out, trying to see where any kind of grip is. You see that inside line, you can see Aldrich's right rear kind of kick out through the corner. It's very slick down there right now, so tricky on what kind of line he's having to run. Having to hold it down on the inside of somebody's just making it worse.
And that was Dan McLaren. It looked like banging a little bit of wheels with Ryan Bayer. Oh, slide job and right up in front of him. That's a great move from Dan McLaren to move himself up into P2.
Yeah, absolutely. First one we really seen the night. That was a great job. He made a good clear right there. Able to pull away now, so he's obviously got speed. Bayer and Aldrich look like they're continuing to fight it out. Oh, we got a car in the wall.
And that is Andy Piercefield. G.J. Boydell tried to throw a little bit of a slide job on him. The two banging wheels, and that sends him out wide. In the back, though, this is Roger Craig. Very, very close with Nick Schell as they dive into turn 3 and 4. We are over halfway. More contact!
Oh, multiple cars taken out in that one right there. Not sure who it is. We got the 512 of Schell, it looks like.
Yeah, he's the one that is going to be suffering out the most, but we still have another good little battle shaping up here. That's the 514 of Aldrich trying to throw a slider on Ryan Bayer, but Bayer says, I know exactly what you're doing, and I'm going to cross you right over and get that position back, so nothing changing right there for now. Bayer continuing to lead Aldrich up front. It is Pat Boyce and Don McLaren, but these two battling very, very fiercely. Nathan Aldrich trying to hold on to the background with G.J. Boydell back there as well.
Absolutely. Aldrich is continuing to work him over here. I think he's going to be a little bit more patient, wait till this last lap before he makes a move. He knows that once he makes it, that Bayer's going to try to cross him back over, so he's got to do it late.
Oh, but I think the two touched wheels there coming down the main straightaway, and that's going to put the 514 of Aldrich way down in the field. He loses his spot to Boydell, and he's about to lose one out to Mike Cranmer. But we have got to go back up front to Pat Boyce because the 41 is about to take victory here in the B main, and he does, followed by Don McLaren and Ryan Bayer. I do not know how Boydell, Aldrich, Cranmer, and Craig avoided contact there coming through turn 4. I thought for sure that was going to be disaster.
It's a lot of tight racing out there right now, DJ, and the groove continues to move up, but the A main is going to really be something here. This track is really racy, and these guys are really, really close getting around the racetrack to each other, so should be a good show.
It should be a fantastic show as we show you those results of the Chip Bangers Racing B main here for the Icon Sim Sports Hometown Heroes 305 Sprint Series presented by A&J Custom Creations. Pat Boyce taking victory from Dan McLaren with Ryan Bayer in third, Gigi Boydell fourth, followed by Nathan Aldrich, Mike Cranmer, Roger Craig, Jeff Barker, Carter Jamieson, Nick Schell, and Andy Piercefield. And now as drivers head out on track for a quick little 3-minute warm-up, we are pleased to welcome back into the booth our in-race reporter, John Hine. John, first of all, congratulations on a good heat race, but how's it feeling out there now?
Well, the top right now seems to be pretty quick. That's been a long time, it seems, since I've been on the track, and that slick through the middle has definitely widened quite a bit. Trying the bottom right now, and you got to feather it, but you can keep your car straight and kind of keep it going down here. But I expect, I think a lot of action we've seen just all three heat races. You guys battle in every position. I think coming up here in this feature, I think every position all through the field, every one of them is going to be contested, which is going to make for some great racing. And I see options out here, at the bottom to the top. I'm not that much different speed-wise from running the top and running the bottom.
Yeah, the track looked absolutely great through all of those heat races, John. As this groove continues to change and widen out a little bit, is the outside lane just going to be really, really tough to try to pass somebody on, or are you going to be able to have options to go to that bottom and do a slide job? How do you think that's going to play out?
There's enough tack out here that I think the slide jobs are still going to be there available. You're going to have to be careful because these cars do lose a lot as they slide across the slick here, more so than the 360s will later. And that's just because of the, getting the power back down. You see right now, Schaefer is trying to throw a slider on me and gets about even up with me, and then just, it peters out a little bit, as he comes out the corner, and that's just going across the slick. But I think as this gets wider, and there he got a lot more aggressive, and it looks like I could force the issue here, but we're in practice. I'll let him have this. But, the guys are going to have to be really careful, like what I just did, make decisions and make good decisions and not put yourself in bad spots. I think that's what it's going to be, is the more patient driver tonight is probably going to do a little better.
We appreciate it, John. Good luck tonight, and hopefully you guys put on a show that you did in practice just there. 3 wide for multiple laps. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here talking the whole time thinking, I'm going to kill somebody, but we got through it.
Yep, good job, John.
Yep.
That was John Hine, your in-race reporter here, and we are ready to go racing here in the A&J Custom Creations 305 Sprint Series, presented by the Icon Sim Sports Coast to Coast Racing League Hometown Heroes Series. Connor Ross is going to be lining up in pole position, followed by John Hine with Gary Taylor in third and Ross Coronata in fourth. Blake Chapman will be fifth, followed by Andy Patton with Jeff Floro in seventh and Randy Strevis in eighth. Brendan Lacey will line up in ninth, followed by Chris Schaefer with Jeffrey Kemper and Dustin Sargent behind them.
13th tonight will be Pat Boyce, 14th Dan McLaren, 15th is Ryan Bayer, 16th is GJ Boydell, 17th is Nathan Aldridge, 18th Mike Cranmer, 19th goes to Roger Craig, 20th Jeff Barker, 21st is Carter Jamieson, 22nd will be Nick Shell, and starting tail end of the field in 23rd tonight will be Andy Piercefield.
Well, JR, we've heard John talk about this track. We've seen these drivers out in action. It's predictions time. Who has caught your eye here tonight?
Well, obviously, John's got plenty of speed tonight. Ross has speed. There's going to be guys like Chapman and Strevis that are starting a little bit further back than we usually expect them to start, but I think they're going to be coming up very fast. The crazy thing tonight is this track has so many grooves. We saw it in practice. These guys were going 3 wide. If you're careful through the slick portion in the middle, you can still make it work while you're around other cars. So I expect a really, really crazy, really great race for everybody that's watching.
I expect the same. Do not go anywhere. We have got 20 laps of sheer adrenaline out here at Volusia in the A&J Custom Creations 305 Sprint Series. It is going to be absolutely mega action from the drop of the green flag. Connor Ross leading the field to the flag and waiting behind that Steve King Foundation pace truck. There it pulls off into the pits, and there goes the flag. Here comes the Thunder. We're racing in Volusia. It is a mega start from John Hine. He is able to get that high line working as he works the way around with the momentum, and it takes an easy lead. He's going to bring Ross Coriento around with him and bring him into second place. Connor Ross continuing to work the low side as there's that 3 wide you talked about, JR.
Absolutely. These guys put on a great show already. The high groove is working so well. It looks like on the inside you got several guys over-rotating a little bit. And, oh, we already got a caution on the speedway.
We have got a big kerfluffle. I see two cars on their lid. This is Jeffrey Kemper. This looked like it was diving into turn one. Oh, that was a big lick there. I believe that was Nathan Aldrich that started that off, and the car just flipping up into the air, losing control down the front straightaway and causing a whole melee. Drivers just having to scramble to avoid that.
Yeah, it looked like just maybe some contact with that inside wall on the left front, and you cannot make any kind of contact with these open wheel cars like that. You just absolutely lose control. There's nothing you can do about it, and it just sent him back up into traffic. And you can't stop on dirt, so when somebody comes up in front of you like that, it's not going to be good for anyone.
No, it is not. And we get ready to reset here. Caution laps do not count in this series, so when we restart, we'll be back to exactly where we started. You're guaranteed 20 laps of green flag racing. That high line looking pretty superior here early on, JR, as we saw John Hine use it to perfection to get up on the high side.
Yeah, it had a ton of grip there from the start. A little bit surprised with these being more of a momentum car. Usually that first lap is really well around the bottom of the track, but I noticed several guys over-rotate through turns 1 and 2. And if you over-rotate just a little bit in these cars, you lose so much speed. And like I said, they're momentum cars, so if you lose any kind of speed to the guys you're racing, it's going to cost you a lot. So a little bit surprised with that, but I think John's going to have to start on the inside here. So be interesting to see if he can make that work.
It will indeed, and Ross Corienta able to bring himself along as well. Connor Ross down 2 positions right now. Looks like Nick Schell is your biggest mover at the moment, up 9 into 13th. But we're not worried about Nick Schell right now. We're worried about John Hine up in the lead because the pace truck is pulling off. Hine bringing the field to green. A little bit of a slower start there for him, backing the field up, but he's able to get a good jump on Corienta. They continue to work their way around. We've got a couple of wide there in the back by the top 4 or 5 in single file.
Yep, single file makes this start a little bit more unique. Everybody's able to get the first couple laps going, but we've already got contact coming out turn 4. Another issue on this speedway here. Oh, our car upside down.
Ooh, multiple cars upside down there as it looked like we had a couple of drivers just getting a little bit squirrely coming through turn 4, kicking those rear side tires out a bit more than they would like to, and that really impacted the field. I'm seeing right now Chris Schaefer definitely impacted by that. I think Randy Shrevis may have been taken out as well.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe Cranmer was taken out in that. Yeah, multiple guys going to have their night ended here. So it's going to shorten our field up. May allow us to get some green flag racing going, though. It's just it's hard with these cars where you're trying to fight for position and get the best groove on the racetrack. Contact's going to be made, and like I said earlier, these are open wheel cars. Once it's made, it's hard to save it.
Yeah, it is indeed. And as you also said, once you get going in these cars, in any dirt car, you really can't get them to stop. So definitely a tough situation. And how hard is it as a driver, JR, to kind of mentally reset? You get yourself ready to go at the drop of the green flag, and then you get a couple of yellows here.
Yeah, it's tough, especially early, because you know, when you get prepared for that initial start, you're expecting several laps of green flag racing and to get yourself into a rhythm. And when this just keeps happening, you keep having caution after caution. It's hard to mentally reset, but you got to find a way to put everything out of your mind and go back to where you were on that initial green. Get your mind clear and just focus on getting the best start you can and the best entry into turn 1.
Indeed, as race control just telling everybody to calm down a little bit, wanting to keep this race as clean and green as possible. Work their way around here. John Hine still in control of the field. No change for the leaders here. The only driver who has not changed position, by the way, is Blake Chapman, who is still in 5th place. As the Steve King Foundation pace truck will pull off and give control of the field again over to John Hine. He's going to back the field up and get on the loud pedal. He's able to get a gap of about 3 or 4 car lengths as they dive into turn 1. Again, seeing some drivers. That's Flaro and the 20, I believe, down on the inside of Blake Chapman, trying to work that low line a little bit, but they are single file up front.
Yep, still single file. Everybody trying to sort things out, set each other up. They know they still got over halfway to go here, so nothing too aggressive just yet. But we do have a couple of guys working that inside groove. I think Corienta just took the lead there on John by using the inside.
Use the inside, threw a slider on John Hine. John Hine goes for the crossover here. Now, is he going to throw a slider in return? Yes, he is. Getting that rear tire up against the cushion. And a crossover again from Corienta. They are swapping sliders here at Volusia.
Absolutely, and the way this backstretch is, if you're the guy that's able to get to the inside on that backstretch, you're going to have the advantage. It's just a shorter way around the track. And, yeah, there you see Corienta go from the top down to the bottom again. He's going to make the pass again down the backstretch.
And John's going to send it in again. We keep our eyes focused here on that number 20 machine. That's Blake Chapman as he continues to work his way around. That is your championship leader at the moment. Oh, it looked like Hine wasn't able to get the crossover slider there on Corienta. He's going to have to try it again going into turn 3, but doesn't exactly look like he's got it. Corienta solely and securely in lead of this race.
Absolutely, and Ross has now caught that group on the outside lane here. He's going to start to work over John, but we got Chapman making moves also.
He is indeed, but he's going to have to throw a double slider if he wants to get up in front of that. I believe that's Andy Patton riding around just in the slick there. Very, very brave stuff out of Andy Patton, riding up there almost into the side of that 35, but able to hold it back up. And now Blake Chapman starting to make some moves on John Hine.
Yep, starting to see this inside lane really pay off if you're able to run right down to the bottom. You got to keep your right rear tire just below that slick. I think we're seeing Chapman pull that off extremely well right now.
Indeed, we are in the 87 there, following him around as well. That is Andy Patton. They both dive in there to that corner. That's the 35. Connor Ross in 5th place. Connor able to get a good run off of the corner and get his nose up in there as well. But now Blake Chapman all the way up into 2nd place, and he's got his eyes on Ross Corienta as we get over to start lap 14. We've got a race for the lead.
Absolutely, we got 2 grooves running here. These guys are probably going, oh no, we got caution on the speedway again, did you?
Oh, just when you thought it was going to go caution-free, we see another yellow coming out there. I think that may have been Brennan Lacey. I'm seeing Randy Shrevis may have been involved in that as well. And so that's going to reset the field here. Ross Corienta will still be leading. Blake Chapman directly behind him and John Hine in that final podium position.
Yeah, this is going to change things a little bit. We'll still have several laps here at the end, so we'll still see some good racing. But we were starting to see 6, 7 guys really close in on that lead, and that was going to really bunch those guys up and give people options for that 6th or 7th spot to maybe leap forward up to 3rd or even 2nd or even 1st. So it was getting very interesting there for a minute. We're going to be on a single file restart here, so things won't get too crazy, I don't think, but you'll still see 3 or 4 guys be able to race it out.
Well, you will indeed, and JR from the Bootleg Racing League, we're used to seeing double file restarts, and that obviously gives you a pretty clear advantage to be able to run a high or a low line there. But how hard is it going to be for the likes of Chapman and Hine here to try to get a jump on Ross Corienta when they get going back under green?
It's very difficult because it's very hard to tell in these dirt cars when the guy in front of you really launches. So anticipation is really difficult to do in these cars. If you get it right, you can gain a lot, and I know these guys are extremely good, so you're probably going to see a couple of them do that. But if you get it wrong, you can really make a lot of contact with the guy in front of you. The guy behind you can pile into you, and it can really cause a mess. So you're seeing these guys kind of space out about a half a car length. That's really smart, just to make sure if there's any kind of a checkup that occurs.
All right, we'll have to watch for that checkup. Ross Corienta in that number 10 machine, going to be leading the field to green right now as the Steve King Foundation pace truck pulls off in, and we are green here at the last time for Volusia. It's a very good start for Corienta, able to get about a 3 or 4 car length advantage. That's the 35 of Connor Ross trying to work the high side behind him. 1, 2, 3 there, very, very spread out. Flaro trying to take a little bit of a look on the back of Andy Patton.
Absolutely, guys getting racy. They know they only got about 4 laps to go here, trying to work that inside line. I think there's a lot of grip down there, but you have to hit it just right. Otherwise, you want to be in that outside lane, I think, at the moment. Watching Chapman, oh, we have another caution, DJ.
We do indeed. Mike Cranmer, I think, involved in that one potentially. You can see him there on the front straightaway. So this will reset the field on lap 17, I believe. So 4 laps to go when we get back going under green. Saw Ross Corienta get a big jump on the field, and he is probably kicking his pedals right now because it looked like he had this race pretty much locked up.
Yeah, absolutely. He pulled away to a nice lead there, was probably going to be able to hold on to most of that lead. Chapman's fast, but once somebody jumps out there like that, it's going to take you several laps, 4 or 5 laps to get your momentum and to be able to chase them back down. So this definitely changes things, but I think with this caution here, it's probably going to definitely leave it up to the top 3 guys to have a shot to race it out, maybe just the top 2 guys.
Yeah, it looked like John Hine was scrambling a little bit for pace there. We saw him start low, try to go high, just trying to find a line that worked there for that 71 machine, and not exactly able to find it. But really to the surprise of nobody, Blake Chapman able to work his way back forward. And as of right now, if the race were to end, by the way, the Gambler Motorsports Hard Charger Award would still go to Nick Schell, up 14 on the day, up into 8th place. So kudos to Nick. Let's hope that run continues from him.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job tonight for sure. Always seems to drive very smart and kept his head on him tonight, stayed out of trouble, and was able to gain a lot of spots. Interesting to see how this start's going to go here. I ultimately think, DJ, you're going to have to be, if you're second or third, I think you're going to kind of have to follow the leader for that first lap. Just try to keep your momentum even with him, and then you're going to have to try to make a move, go somewhere that he's not.
All right, well, we'll see if Chapman or Hine are listening to our broadcast and take your advice, JR, as we wait for the pace truck to pull off. And there it goes. Ross Corienta has control of the field, gets on it before the green flag flies, which he is allowed to do, builds up about a 3 or 4 car length advantage. Everybody taking your advice, just staying down low. I'm seeing Andy Patton in the back, sliding out a little bit, but these top 3, very single file, very spread out as they move on to work lap 18.
Yep, everybody running the bottom right now, trying to get their momentum going. They're taking the shortest way around the track to maximize that until they get the speed built up. Some guys are already starting to move up to the top. But yeah, racing right now is going to be right around that 4th and 5th spot. We have Patton and Ross kind of racing each other side by side.
And it looks like as we are on the penultimate lap right now, Blake Chapman starting to get a little bit of lead on Ross Corienta, but not quite close enough to close it down. We watch here that battle for 4th with Andy Patton and Flaro Sargent. A lot of guys involved in that. Big wreck down the front stretch, but the yellow flag was in the air, so no yellow flag will be out. And up to the leaders, Blake Chapman trying to close in on Ross Corienta, but Ross Corienta will take victory here in the A&J Custom Creations 305 Sprint Series. Chapman following him home. John Hine rounding out your podium.
Yep, wished we'd stayed green a little bit longer there, but these guys still put on a fantastic show. We saw multiple grooves of racing tonight, and these guys showed their skill level being able to race that close to each other.
They really and truly did. As your 3 podium finishers work their way into the Cool Ray victory lane, we can run you through the final finishing order. As we said, it was Ross Corienta taking victory in the A main, followed by Blake Chapman with John Hine in 3rd, Andy Patton and Jeff Flaro rounding out your top 5. Nick Schell was in 6th, followed by G.J. Boydell with Pat Boyce and Carter Jamison behind them. Randy Shrevis able to work his way up into 10th. Ryan Bayer in 11th, and Jeff Barker in 12th.
Yep, coming home 13th tonight is Jeffrey Kemper. 14th is Gary Taylor. 15th goes to Connor Ross. 16th, Dustin Sargent. 17th, Dan McLaren. 18th, Andy Piercefield. 19th place finisher tonight goes to Nathan Aldridge. 20th, Roger Craig. 21st, Mike Cranmer. 22nd, Brennan Lacey, and last place tonight in 23rd goes to Chris Schaefer.
A great run all the way there across, and that Chip Bangers Racing the Gambler Motorsport Hard Charger Award does go to Nick Schell, who is up 16 positions on the day. But first off, we have got to go to Ross Corienta. Ross, a fantastic run out there for you. We saw you trading sliders at one point with John Hine and then having to hold off all the hard charges on the restart. This has got to feel good.
Yeah, it's always good to take a win.
Well, talk me through a little bit of your mindset. Obviously, probably a little bit frustrating when all of those yellows kept coming out there at the end, depriving you of being able to run away with it. But how did you just keep yourself focused?
Well, if I'm being completely honest, I think the yellow that came out with like 6 laps or 7 laps to go actually probably helped me. Blake was a little faster on the bottom, and then once I saw he was down there, then I moved down there kind of in block mode. I think he was a little faster than me tonight, but sometimes let's race him.
Well, with you being able to take the victory, obviously, away from Blake, can we expect you to be back and maybe see you on the top step of the podium here a few more times over the course of the series?
Yeah, I hope so. Wednesday nights are kind of busy for me, but I'll try to get out here whenever I can, I guess.
Well, we hope to see you, and we hope you put on another good show like this. Anybody you want to thank for this victory here today?
Want to thank the guys over at Phantom Motorsports, sponsors, Velocity Race Design, Weckl Sportswear, Power Outdoors, and then Highside Media.
Well, thank you so much, and congratulations again. That was Ross Corriente, your victor here today. Now, JR, I believe you've caught up with our second-place finisher, Blake Chapman.
Absolutely. Blake, congratulations on the second place finish tonight. Walk us through your run. Looks like you passed about 3 cars tonight from your starting position. How was the track, and how did things just go for you tonight?
Yeah, things went pretty well for me tonight. I figured the track was going to be bottom dominant like it was last week, and starting down there, I just kind of stayed down there the whole race. I tried something up top once in 1 and 2 with about 10 to go, and I didn't like how the car felt up there, and I thought I was going to get the lead there coming out of 2, and I had position there on Ross on the bottom, and I thought I was going to make the pass, but then the caution came out, and I knew after that he was going to go to the bottom, and I pretty much had no chance.
Yeah, we were disappointed when the cautions were coming out there at the end. We had some great racing up front. Looked like there were 6 or 7 guys that really had a shot to make some passes. Talk us through that, man, because you were right there with him as that caution came out, and obviously with as few laps left as we had, not a lot of options for you to do on the green.
Yeah, and I kind of knew he was going to go down at the bottom too, and I figured the top was not fast enough to keep up with him running there. And kudos to him, though. He just did a great job at keeping it smooth on the bottom. He definitely didn't hand it to me.
No, absolutely not. And again, you guys did a great job tonight. Anybody you want to thank for your run this evening?
Oh, yeah, all the guys at Vanderpool Racing and all of our sponsors. And, of course, I got to thank my parents and grandparents, everybody who watches and supports Steve Bixler. And I got to thank the league for putting this on and you guys for broadcasting this every week.
Yep, we appreciate it, man. And another good points night for you. Congratulations once again on that. And I believe DJ is now caught up with our third place finisher, John Hyde.
I have indeed, John. A fantastic race out for you there. You led a lot of that race, swapping sliders with Ross. Coming home with the podium here has got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, especially in a car that I don't much care for, but I'll take a third, especially with those 2 guys. It's good to see Ross in here. We haven't seen him yet this season, but he is one of our Renegades guys, that can go and challenge for those wins on Monday night. Those are 2 of the best, so I cannot hang my head low finishing behind both Blake and Ross there.
Well, I mean, talk me through a little bit when you were swapping those sliders there. You had to be grinning from ear to ear because that just looked like a whole bunch of fun.
Yeah, it was, and then I probably could have kept it going for a couple more laps, but I thought I'd get cute and try something just a little bit different to maybe stay a little closer to him, to where I thought I could pull the slide off and then hold it, and that didn't work out so well. And then I started kind of following him a little bit, and then Blake got to that inside there and was running that, and then I had to, from that point on, kind of go down there and follow them guys, and they pulled away from me off that last green stop. So those guys, whatever adjustments they made, probably to their wing or whatever throughout that run, they did it better than me because I couldn't hang with them at the end.
Well, were you making any adjustments over the course of the run? I mean, how was it? How was the tracks looking in?
Yeah, once I went down to the bottom, I started moving it back towards the rear end a little bit to get a little more drive off the corner and whatnot. And that might not have been the thing to do. I don't know. Like I said, I don't run these 305s that often, and I I probably should get a little better attitude. It's probably worth a 10th anyway. So yeah, once I got to the bottom, but if I was up top, man, I just put that thing all the way forward and let her eat.
Well, one way or the other, third place, a good result for you. Anybody you want to thank for this run?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my Gambler teammates. The guys are just a blast to sit and hang out with and chat with and race with. And want to thank Cool Ray Heating and Plumbing. You know what? I see a winter blast coming again this weekend. If you want to get a tune-up on your heater and you live around the Atlanta area, please give Cool Ray a call, and they'll get you set up, make sure they get you through the rest of the winter here. Also want to thank the Cruise Shop. You can go anywhere in the world. You just have to reach out to them at thecruiseshopfw.com. And I also like to thank my wife. She lets me do a lot of this stuff and is real patient. And I can't begin to tell you how thankful I am.
I think everybody who's a sim racer needs to be thanking their spouse every time they do it. So, John, thank you so much, and congratulations again on third place.
Yeah, and I forgot one other one. I got a new wrap on the car too, and VMR Wraps, man, they did a real nice job with this car. It's a really sharp-looking car, and I'd like to give them a shout-out too. So sorry about that, and I hope everybody enjoys the rest of the night.
Well, I'm sure we will indeed. That was John Hine, your third place finisher here tonight. As for us, we are going to take a quick little break, but do not go anywhere because we will be back with more action from the Icon Sim Sports Hometown Heroes series. It's time for the 360s to take to the track after this short break.
leader in our industry.
The lifetime parts and labor warranty is pretty awesome. Basically, all the parts are covered, the labor and everything.
When we say lifetime, we mean lifetime, and it's supported with money-back guarantees. And with that, you're getting all qualified technicians that are going to ensure that this job is done perfectly and operates perfectly throughout the life of the unit.
Learn more about our Coolray lifetime parts and labor warranty at Coolray.com. Coolray and Carrier. Turn to the experts.
Welcome back to the Icon Sim Sports Hometown Heroes Series. We are ready to get racing here for the ABR Setup Shop 360 Sprint Series. And JR, we're adding a little bit more horsepower on the same old track, and that's going to make things a lot hairier out here.
Absolutely it is. More horsepower, more tire spin on the right rear corner there. So these guys are really going to have to work the throttle to try to maximize that grip coming off the corners. You know, if the track stays the way it is, we've already got that slick that's kind of in the center of the track. So they're going to have to be careful going into the corner as well. If you over-rotate just a little bit, these cars are not as momentum type as the 305s were. But again, if you over-rotate, you're losing time to the guy in front of you, and he's not going to be losing time. So it's hard to overcome that. So we'll have to pay attention to that, see where this groove moves around to. But yeah, hopefully it's like the 305 race, and we have a lot of options here for the drivers.
Well, we will have to see as we transition away from the Pitside Podcast pre-race show and get ready to go to the live action out on track. Drivers are currently out on track for the ABR Setup Shop qualifying session. Same as before. It is 2 laps and 3 minutes to get it done. We're watching Connor Ross getting that 035 up to speed, ready to get going. Looking for some good times to get set down here. It looks like our very own John Hine is one of the early drivers that could be a little bit quick around here as we wait for the first times to come across. And indeed, it is John Hine. Brian Dickens going to be able to slot in behind him with Andy Patton jumping his way up to the top of the charts before Taylor Wineland ends up taking it away from him. I just saw G.J. Boydell come up into 6th, Dan McLaren up into 7th. Lots of quick times falling in, JR.
Absolutely. Mason Coffey goes to the top there with a really fast time, over a tenth faster than everybody. So very nice lap there. We have Dickens in 2nd right now and Connor Ross in 3rd. I'll drop to 4th. Blake Chapman goes to 2nd.
Right, so nobody. Blake Chapman up there and doing very, very well for himself. Dickens, Ross, Patton, Spangler, Wineland, Hine, Templeton, Boydell, your top 10 right now. Mason Coffey, Ross Corienta able to get his way up into P2. Our own Nick Vickery, only good enough for 11th, but he's got one more bite at the apple as we see him bringing that car around. Randy Shrevis there, Blake Chapman calling it a day. Let's see if Randy's got anything down. Nick Vickery unable to improve, but we are able to go over to Nick and tell us how this track is feeling for the 360s.
So far so good. I only got a couple laps in there for practice, and it was definitely a lot slicker than it is here in qualifying. So I did catch the tail end of that 305 race, and I think they were running the bottom. So I think you'll see kind of the same thing here tonight. You'll see guys. My car's actually out of fuel, so I can't do too many laps. But yeah, I think you'll see guys running the bottom. And I think as the night progresses, you'll see the line move up. And the past couple weeks, if there's anything we've learned that there's guys that can run in the middle and the slick. So if you've got pretty good throttle control and can roll the middle and then get back on it and shoot it straight down the straightaway, you should make your way to the front late race. Because I think we saw last week that just the outside line got so high against the wall that it was actually faster just to let the car coast through the slick in the middle. So should make for some good racing, and hopefully we put on a show for you guys tonight.
Absolutely. Hopefully that goes that way, Nick. Hey. Question here: as that groove moves up in these 360s, are you going to be able to try to work a guy over through turns 1 and 2 and maybe do follow him in on the high side and jump down to the bottom on the back stretch? With the way this back stretch is a D-shaped, get that momentum and be able to make a pass going into 3.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little hard in 1 and 2. The high line is notoriously not as good here in 1 and 2 as it is in 3 and 4, just because it has that lip and it flattens out at the top. So I think we will see the line go up to that point in 1 and 2, but I've seen some crazier things happen. Another big thing, too, I know we talk about it every week, is the backstretch kind of thins out a little bit coming off of 2 there. So if you cut down the racetrack trying to get a run underneath somebody, you got to make sure that there wasn't somebody on the bottom that's coming up to meet you.
Well, thank you so much, Nick. We will get you out of the booth here and get you ready for the pre-race because we are ready to go heat racing here. It is heat number 1 presented by the Super Dirt Car Series. GJ Boydell going to be lining up in pole position for this, followed by Randy Shrevis with Connor Ross and Mason Coffey behind him.
At 5th place, Gary Taylor, Roger Craig in 6th, and Jeff Flaro will be starting 7th tonight.
All right, JR. So as we said, a lot of differing lines here. These 360s going to present a very, very different way to run this track around, and it's going to make for hopefully some even better racing than we saw in those 305s. So that's going to be pretty hard to beat.
Yeah, the 305s put on a fantastic show tonight, but these 360s really open up your options. So you can have a different driving style than someone, and it may not pay off in the 305s, but in the 360s, you can run different lines. You can use the different places on the racetrack to your advantage based on your driving style. So it'll be interesting. Hopefully we get good track conditions and we're able to see multi-grooves out there.
Indeed, as we are waiting right now, it looks like for Jeff Flaro to grid up the final driver here for this first heat race presented by the Super Dirt Car Series in the ABR Setup Shot 360 Series in the Icon Sim Sports Hometown Heroes division. Here we go. There is Flaro into the back of the grid, so we are ready to get racing. Obviously, Coffey here able to put that thing on pole. A very, very good run for Mason. GJ Boydell, another threat. Randy Shrevis starting up near the front. That's got to scare a few drivers here.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're going to have to really pay attention to Coffey. Shrevis is going to be fast, I think, obviously. So we'll have to see how this works out. But yeah, I think this is more of a learning deal than anything. In practice, I think a lot of guys kind of ran single file and just worked on the track. Now they get to get out there side by side and see what lane's going to work while you're racing around other cars. And like Nick said in the interview with him, you got to not only pay attention to the guy that you're racing in front of you, but also behind you, because if you make a move, you got to be attentive to where that guy behind you is going so you don't make contact with him.
Yeah, that'll be very, very crucial. And as with the previous series, no yellows until we get to the 25-lap feature out here. So if you make a mistake, you're going to find yourself in a world of hurt. But GJ Boydell not thinking about hurt right now. He's thinking about what's ahead of him. And that is that Steve King Foundation pace truck waiting for it to pull off as the lights are off around here at Volusia. Ready to go racing in this first heat race presented by Super Dirt Car Series. There goes the pace truck, and very, very good start to the outside by Randy Shrevis. He was able to get that going very, very well. GJ Boydell's going to have to slot back into second place. Mason Coffey up a spot already over Connor Ross as the top four start to break away from the field.
Already moving through that center, moving up the track just a little bit, but you see Coffey here trying to follow him on that top side, but man, Ross making a move down the low.
Ross getting very, very aggressive, wanting to put that 35 machine up towards the pointy end of the field. Randy Shrevis continuing to run away, but there the momentum coming back to GJ Boydell, trying to fight back a little bit as they dive down into turn one. Boydell brings the car up to the high side, but it's going to lose him a position there. Mason Coffey able to be in third, Connor Ross in second.
Yeah, just like Nick said during the interview earlier tonight, the inside lane looks very racy right now. It seems to be the place you're getting the most grip and the fastest lap times. There goes Coffey to the inside of Ross.
Coffey sending a little bit of a slider there. He's going to bring the car up. Ross going to try to fight back, but I'm not sure how much fight he's going to have there. Not able to get the slider, and it's going to have to be sticking on the outside for Mason Coffey, but the inside line is going to pay off for Connor Ross. He's going to be able to hold it. Coffey tries to go for the slider yet again, but Ross sees it coming, blocks him off. Inside line there for Coffey as they work on lap 6.
Absolutely trading the position back and forth here for second place. These guys are really putting on a show, showing us what the track is capable of. A little bit of contact going in through.
Yeah, a little bit of a check up there for Mason Coffey as they cross over to start the penultimate lap here. Working their way around right now. I think there's been an incident in the back, by the way. That's Floro and Craig both out of this race. They'll have to go back to the B main to get things sorted out. But the white flag is in the air. We continue to watch this battle between Connor Ross and Mason Coffey. Coffey looking down to the inside, trying to find a little bit of an angle, but it's not doing there. Is he going to have anything going into 3? He's going to dive the car low, sends the slider up on the track. He's got it over Ross, and bada bing! Randy Shrevis takes victory, followed by Mason Coffey and Connor Ross. GJ Boydell brings home the final transfer spot.
Yeah, great racing. Track starting to do what we thought it would. Multi-grooves coming out, but yeah, definitely low right now.
And there you have that final finishing order. Gary Taylor, Jeff Flower, and Roger Craig forced to go back to the B main here tonight. But that just means that we are ready to go for heat number 2. It is presented by Pet Partners with Jeff Barker starting in pole position, followed by John Hine with Andy Patton and Ross Corienta in 4th.
Yep, Jeffrey Kemper will be in 5th, Nick Shell starting 6th, and starting at the tail end of the field in 7th tonight will be Barry Goldner.
All right, so we saw that multitude of lines like you were talking about there playing out, JR. But what else are you taking away from that first heat race?
Yeah, right now the bottom's still the dominant lane. The top line's starting to come in a little bit. I think we'll definitely see that as we get to the B main or the A main later tonight. But yeah, right now it's more about setting the guy up, making sure that you get the run where you want it. Some guys like to try to make a pass down the back stretch going into 3, and some guys like to do it on the shorter front stretch. So it just kind of depends on what your driving style is and where you're the most comfortable right now.
Indeed, we'll have to see where that comfortability level will play in for these drivers. John Hine starting out on the outside, Barker to his inside. Going to be very interesting to see how they get going. Andy Patton, always a threat. And last race's winner, Ross Corienza there, starting in that P4 position. Look for him to charge his way forward in that number 10 machine as we wait for the pace truck to pull off here. Just waiting for that green flag to fly, and there goes the pace truck scattering off to the inside. Field control going over to Barker, and the green flag is in the air, and it's a great start again for that outside row. John Hine off to a big jump. He is going to bring Ross Coriento along with him as they work out a 2.
Absolutely. Everybody getting a little bit squirrely off of turn 2. I think they've sorted it out going into 3. Oh, we got a car around.
Do indeed. That looks like Jeffrey Kemper, but back up front, it's relatively single file for the first 2. But Jeff Barker and Andy Patton really duking it out there for P3. That's Patton trying to dive down to the inside. Is he going to throw a slider? Yes, he is. A little bit of a late slide job, and that's going to hold up a little bit of the momentum. But Jeff Barker's going to look back, tries to throw a slider in return, but Patton's able to carry the momentum.
Absolutely. Barker's got a little bit of a run on the inside, but it's closed off by Patton going into 3. He was able to cap that off and keep that outside moving.
Good defensive driving there from Andy Patton and some heads-up play to make that work. You saw Nick Schell maybe having a look to the inside of Jeff Barker there, but also had to force to back off. The top two running away with this race in the form of John Hine and Ross Corienta as we continue to watch them. There they go. Corienta in the Phantom Motorsports 10 machine, maybe starting to get a little closer to the back of John Hine.
He definitely is, for sure. John Hine's got a mirror full at the moment, and Corienta, I think, is just kind of working him over, seeing where John's running, and probably going to wait to the last lap here to really make a move because it's so easy to cross back over.
Indeed it is, but starting to get very, very hungry. We work on the second to last lap here, working on lap 7 of 8. Corienta just continuing to stalk in those tire tracks. Now John Hine decides to run a little bit low, run a little bit of a slider. That's Corienta looking for a little bit of a crossover. Here comes that move. Is he going to go for the slide job? He's going to try for it, but Hine's there to the outside. Did they bang wheels?
Absolutely, side by side going into 3. John caps him off going into turn 3. He's going to hold him off coming to the finish here. John Hine takes the win in Heat 2.
Hine takes the victory, as you said. Ross Corienta takes P2, followed by Andy Patton and Jeff Barker automatically advancing. Barry Goldner there, the last finisher. Kemper not able to get to the end of that. Andy Patton and Jeff Barker will automatically advance. Nick Schell, Barry Goldner, and Jeffrey Kemper going to have to go back into the consolation as we get ready for the third heat race here, presented by the World of Sports podcast. Starting off in pole position, it'll be Dan McLaren, followed by Nick Vickery, with Patrick Spangler in third.
Yep, fourth place will be Blake Chapman. My apologies. Fifth place is Mike Cranmer, and sixth will be Christopher Berger.
All right, so some very, very fierce action up at the front there, and another good spat of drivers here, JR. This is just going to keep getting better and better.
It absolutely is, and the track's getting more and more racy as we go and get laps put down on it. It's going to continue to slick off a little bit, and that groove's going to widen out, and it's going to give these drivers a lot more options. Going to have to start to have a lot more throttle control as we go. Biggest thing I'm going to pay attention to is what kind of start Vickery's going to get here. The outside lane has been the place to be on the start so far in the first two heats. So definitely a lot of grip on that outside. I think the inside getting a little bit of wheel spin.
Yeah, it just doesn't look like the place to be as both Hine and the other drivers there are able to really get a good jump, and we'll have to see if McLaren can bake that trend a little bit or if Nick Vickery can get that jump as they work their way around here. Last lap under pace car conditions. Waiting for it all to come through and come to an end for this beginning position. Dan McLaren there in pole, waiting for the pace truck to pull off in that black 89 machine. There goes the pace truck, and McLaren a little bit late on the start. He's able to keep his nose ahead as they cross the line, but Vickery certainly threatening. Now Vickery goes for the crossover. He's got to watch out for Spangler there to the inside. Spangler had to back out of that. Vickery getting very squirrely. They're all over the place here on the opening lap.
Yeah, almost 3 wide coming off of 2 there. They sorted it out. Top 2 are able to pull away. Right now we got Chapman and Spangler racing out going into 1.
And Chapman able to carry momentum there around the high side, putting Spangler back into P4. So that's going to put Black Chapman into P3. But Spangler not done with it yet. Tries to throw a little bit of a slide job, but unable to get it done. All 3 of your leaders working on that middle to high line here as they work on lap 3. That is Nick Vickery leading out there, as that is going to be Chapman trying to find something to the inside, but it's not quite there.
Not yet, but Chapman looks like he's trying to set up the leaders, figure out how to get that run and momentum carried down the backstretch. Still working on it, not able to find something yet.
Not able to get it going. Dan McLaren continues to lead from pole position as we are halfway done with this third heat race presented by the World of Sports podcast. There they go, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are your transfer positions. That's a big lunge there from Patrick Spangler, but not able to carry the speed.
No, he wasn't, but he learned something there, and I think that's what he's doing. He knows he's in the fourth and final transfer spot locked in, so he's got to try stuff, figure out what the track's doing, so he knows what to do later on the night.
And there you saw Blake Chapman, I think, doing a little bit of the same as they cross over to start lap 7 right now. McLaren continues to lead, but it looks like these top 3 are starting to bunch up a little bit here.
They absolutely are. It's going to come down to this last lap. I think Chapman's trying to set up a pass. Vickery doing the same here, so we'll see what happens down the backstretch.
All right. They exit out of turn 2, looking about the same. They work their way into turn 3 right now. Chapman trying to carry a little bit more speed, but nothing is going to happen there. It is McLaren, Vickery, Chapman, and Spangler advancing into the A main. Mike Cranmer and Christopher Berger going to have to take their luck to the B main there tonight. Another good heat race, JR. Very, very close. There is your finishing order. Very close competition there up at the top.
Absolutely close. Those guys were so close on lap times. They were all running the same lane there. It's going to be a little bit hard to pass when you get that going, but track conditions are continuing to change, so it's only going to get better.
And we have one final heat race here tonight. This presented by Maurer Farm Management. Nathan Aldrich will be lining up in pole position, followed by Brendan Templeton with Taylor Wineland in P3.
Yeah, 4th place will be Brian Dickens. 5th will be Benjamin Kolsch. 6th place goes to Andy Piercefield.
All right, so as we get ready out on track right now, looking for these drivers to see what they can do. We saw that middle to high lane really be the preferred way to get around here. JR, do you think that's going to change a little bit? Or anybody going to get aggressive, go down low?
Yeah, it's going to continue to change a little bit as that groove starts to widen out. I think the middle lane will start to be a little bit more prominent, and you'll even see some guys down low. One thing I was noticing in that race, we saw Spangler really doing what I call like the late model slider line. So he's really driving it in more straight toward the bottom and then letting the car slide up all the way through the corner to where he exits on the top. And he was making up some good time doing that. So as this track changes, that could be an option for you.
It could indeed. We'll have to see what they do, and have to see if Brandon Templeton's able to get the good run that we've seen that high side have on the couple of the last starts. Already given a little bit of a pinch there to Nathan Aldrich, seeing if he can maybe get a little bit of an advantage as they wait for the Steve King Foundation pace truck to pull off into the pits. There it goes, and there goes Aldrich onto the gas pedal. He's got a little bit of a lead, but that's going to be Templeton certainly making some hay around the outside. That is Aldrich going for the slider, brings it up the track. He almost had it done and dusted, but Templeton able to fight back on the inside, but he catches the wall, and that's big contact, bringing multiple cars around.
Yep, that definitely ended the race for a couple of guys, I believe. It's going to be down to these top 4 here, and the top 3 are probably going to be able to race it out.
Yeah, Aldrich, Dickens, and Kolsch, the only 3 that are able to really advance on that without any damage. Brandon Templeton able to keep going, but definitely some damage to that car as we focus back in. This is the battle for the lead, Aldrich and Dickens.
Now, this is a treat for these two, so they know that they're locked in. They're racing for the win. They can have fun with it here. They can move around and try different things. They don't have to worry about any kind of stress from behind them. So they're just going to move around, see what they can do. You're probably going to see some different lines than what we saw in the other 3 heats.
Yeah, probably. Indeed, as you see Brian Dickens trying to push that cushion as far as he can up on the high side, kicking up into the gray there a little bit. Both of those drivers are. Aldrich continues to lead as we are halfway through this 4th and final heat race here tonight in the 360 Sprint Series presented by the ABR Setup Shop. As it is Aldrich leading, Dickens behind him.
Yep, these two are definitely pushing that groove out. They're entering that corner higher than anybody else that we've seen tonight so far, so they're trying to work on that. A little bit surprised that they're not trying to move down to the bottom and try it out just to see what's there, but I think they're just trying to widen the groove out at this point.
Out his white flag is in the air for Nathan Aldrich as he continues to run that high line, kicking up the dirt as he does, diving it down into turns 3 and 4 for the final time. He will bring that sprint car out and around and take victory in Heat 4, followed by Brian Dickens. Benjamin Kolsch will also automatically advance, and it looks like Brandon Templeton, despite that massive impact, will be the final car advancing.
Yep, absolutely. Able to bring it home in 4th place after that big accident. Pretty uneventful. Everybody just trying to run out the lap.
Indeed, as you can see, that final finishing order, Aldrich, Dickens, Kolsch, and Templeton, Wineland, and Piercefield going to be the 2 that have to go back to start it all over again and get ready to go in the B main, presented by Chip Bangers Racing. And in this, it will be the top 8 that transfer into the feature, 10 laps here. And so it's Gary Taylor in pole position, followed by Nick Chell, with Mike Cranmer and Taylor Wineland behind them. And Jeff Flauer rounds out your top 5.
Sixth place will be Barry Goldner. Seventh is Christopher Berger. Eighth place will be Andy Piercefield. Ninth will go to Roger Craig. And starting last on the field tonight in 10th place will be Jeffrey Kemper.
All right, JR, so we've got some more cars out on track, more than we've seen up to this point. Highline still looking like it is the way to go, but we're going to have to see, waiting for Jeff Flora to get on the grid right now before we get racing in this B main.
Yeah, if you're the outside's still very, very racy. If you're one of the guys that's starting on the inside lane, you have to hope that outside line kind of bottles up going into 1 and 2, so you can get a run and find an opening in order to get back up. I think you're going to want to get to that high side as early as you can, ride for a few laps, and figure out what your options are on passing the guy in front of you.
Indeed, and some pretty heavy hitters here in this field. Taylor Wineland, one that I'm particularly looking at. Andy Piercefield as well, two drivers that I know can work their way forward quite easily. And just got to stay out of those bottom 2 positions. Those are the ones that will not make it, although I do not see Jeff Floro here taking to the track, so it may just be that bottom driver that doesn't make it.
Yeah, that's going to definitely change things. Just one spot is all that you're having to pay attention to. You just got to be in that top 8, 9 cars out here on track currently. So that changes things a little bit. Maybe a little bit calmer at the start, but ultimately you got to move forward if you're somebody like Kemper at starting ninth.
Yeah, and how much is that going to change your mentality in terms of aggressiveness? I mean, you're not going to want to get involved in an accident and run the risk of failing out, JR.
No, absolutely not. It just ends your night. You got to be smart. You have to transfer through this race before you can go into the A main and try to do anything. So right now, this is your first priority.
Well, the first priority for Gary Taylor is getting on the loud pedal, and he does it quite well, able to get a good jump on the rest of the field. That's Mike Cranmer trying to force his way up into second place. Ooh, good speed there for Nick Schell, but he was forced to check up, coming off of the back end there. As now Cranmer's going to dive that car down to the inside, looking to see if there's anything, as they were almost 3 wide coming out of the corner.
Wineland really pushing that outside line up off of the corner there, trying to make a move on Schell, not able to do it. Still looking as we go into 3.
He's going to look down to the inside now. Is that finally going to pay off for Wineland? It looks like it does, as he slides his way back up into the high line and able to take second position away from Nick Schell. Behind him, it's Cranmer, Goldner, Craig, Berger, and Piercefield working their way around right now.
Yep, everybody kind of single filing out, moving up to that top groove right now, seeing what their options are on the guys in front of them. Wineland doing a great job where he made the move going into turn 3 and sliding up in front of Schell. We'll pay attention to him, see if he can close in on the leader.
And he's certainly going to try to. We ride on board with Mike Cranmer here, looking at that battle for the top 3. Cranmer currently sitting back in 4th position. That's the second time we've seen him do that. That is Gary Taylor, your leader, taking a little bit of a tighter line through 3 and 4.
Yep, kind of moving around, seeing where the grip is. Wineland's definitely doing. He's moved to the inside, making a run on Taylor going into 3.
Tries the slider, but Taylor's up the outside. They're both up into the grade. That's Taylor making contact with the outside wall, but he's able to keep going around. The 34 holds on to the lead. Taylor Wineland is forced to check up and fall back into line, and that 005 as they work their way around, working on lap 8.
Yeah, Taylor doing a fantastic job of car control. It's the highest we've seen anybody coming off of turn 4, and obviously got into the wall a little bit, was able to hang on to it. So amazing job there. Wineland's going to try to regroup and close back in.
Will as they work their way off, starting lap 9, 2 to go here at the line. Nick Schell looking a little bit interested in the back of Taylor Wineland. There's Mike Cranmer as they continue to go around, sitting back in that 4th place position. Not a lot of change here up front. Everything looking relatively calm as the white flag is in the air. Gary Taylor continues to lead, riding in that car all up against the cushion, but that may have cost him a little bit. Is Taylor Wineland starting to look a little bit interested? That's Taylor taking the low line again. Wineland tries to get something going, but it's not going to be for anything as Gary Taylor takes victory here in the B main, followed by Taylor Wineland and Nick Schell.
Yeah, great racing put on by these guys. We saw some great moves, but we also saw some things that you can't do. These guys are going to have to put that in their memory and use it moving forward.
Indeed they are. You can see the rest of that finishing order behind Taylor Wineland and Schell. That was Cranmer, Goldner, Craig, Berger, Piercefield. Making it into the A main, it looks like Jeffrey Kemper and Jeff Flora, who was able to start, both of which will not transfer here tonight. But as we now get into the 3-minute warm-up session, we are happy to welcome back into the booth Nicholas Vickery. Nicholas, who is in that main event. How's the track feeling out there?
Feels pretty good. You know, watching the heat races in the Constellation there, you kind of learn a lot about the track without being on the track. And, you know, there seems to be a lot of grip still left on the bottom, which is actually really surprising because, you know, like we talked about all night, these guys have been moving the line up and up and up. But you haven't really seen a whole lot of guys running the bottom. So it'd be interesting to see how the bottom plays out here in the future as we get more laps on this track.
Hey, Nick, talk about some adjustments you might need to make, or you know, in this heat in this A main, excuse me, as we go into the race and the group continues to change. Any adjustments that you make, or are you pretty much dialed in?
Yeah, you know, I think the big thing here is going to be to stay ahead of the track, right? You know, past couple weeks we ran the 360s here. I found myself personally chasing the track, and a lot of times I found the fast line too late. So I think a big part of the game tonight is going to be to stay ahead of the track changes and try to find the next line before it becomes fast.
Absolutely, and we've seen some great racing tonight. Hopefully we see that bottom work out a little bit better. Like you said, looks like there's still a lot of moisture, a lot of grip at the very bottom down there. Do you still anticipate that the middle of the track where the slick is being a viable option?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really depends on how the bottom plays out. You know, I think you'll see some guys trying to run the bottom, and they might run it through the slick, and you never know. I mean, I've had some good luck here in the slick. In the past, I think last week I finished in the top 5 or top 10 running right through the slick. So we'll just see how it plays out. You know, I haven't been very good on the top line here, so you'll definitely see me around the bottom and through the middle probably.
Absolutely. We look forward to watching that, and I really appreciate you being our in-race reporter tonight, man. So thank you for doing that.
Thanks, guys.
There you go, JR. As we look at these practice times, it looks like Connor Ross, Randy Shrevis, a couple of the usual suspects up towards the top of the charts. Blake Chapman, Nick Vickery, John Hine. Russ Corienza, a little surprising to see him back in 8th.
Yeah, a little bit surprised, but the track's changed a lot since qualifying, so it may be moving away from his driving style at the moment. We'll just have to pay attention to that and see what he's able to do in the race to know for sure. But these times are extremely tight, except for Ross, who put down an impressive lap in practice here.
Yeah, he's going to be one to really, really watch out for with that super quick time, as there goes the checkered flag in qualifying. And we are ready to go racing here for the AVR Setup Shop 360 Sprint Series. And here is your starting order for tonight's event. Randy Shrevis will be starting off in pole position, followed by John Hine, with Dan McLaren in 3rd and Nathan Aldrich in 4th. Mason Coffey will line up in the inside of row 3, followed by Ross Corienza, with Nick Vickery and Brian Dickens behind him. Connor Ross will be 9th, followed by Andy Patton in 10th, with Blake Chapman and Benjamin Kolsch rounding out your top 12.
13th tonight will be G.J. Boydell. 14th will be Jeff Barker. 15th goes to Patrick Spangler. 16th will be Brandon Templeton. 17th, Gary Taylor. 18th will be Taylor Wineland. 19th will be Nick Shell. 20th, Mike Cranmer. 21st, Barry Goldner. 22nd, Roger Craig. 23rd, Christopher Berger, and rounding out the field tonight, 24th goes to Andy Piercefield.
Well, we've seen just how a little bit unpredictable these 360s can be over the course of tonight and the previous events, JR, but I got to say there's an extra sense of unpredictability. A lot of big names starting in the middle of the field and not towards the front end. Looking at guys like Boydell, Chapman, not exactly where you'd expect to see them.
No, not at all, and I don't anticipate them staying there very long either. This is only a 25-lap race. I would think if those guys have any type of speed by the halfway mark, they'll be toward the front. So, got to keep an eye on them for sure. The track's kind of widened out as much as we'll see, but there's going to be a few guys that are going to continue to push that high line higher and higher. And as they do that, it becomes very, very easy to make contact with the wall on the exit. So we have to pay attention to that, see if we have any kind of major issues.
Exactly. We've heard John and Nick talk about in the past just how bumpy it can get up there when that cushion starts to push up against the wall. So that's going to be a storyline we're going to have to follow. But the storyline to follow right now, That's Randy Strevis lining up in pole position, waiting for the John King Foundation pace truck to pull off and give him control of the field. And there it goes, waiting for the green flag, because there goes the flag. Here comes the Thunder. We are racing in the ABR Setup Shop 360 Sprint Series. John Hine trying to carry some momentum around the outside, but it's going to be Randy Strevis that is able to hold on to the lead. Dan McLaren looking very racy to that inside, challenging Hine. Hine all the way up near the wall.
Yep, pushing that high side just a little bit higher. Was very lucky to stay out of the wall, but he continues to push that up, and caution on the speedway. Oh, John goes over the wall as well.
There are multiple drivers involved in that. Ross Corey into John Hine, you said, up and over the wall. I don't know how John is back up and driving again. That's a little amazing. Big kerfluffle. It looks like a couple people just got together, pinching each other, going high, coming into turn one.
John has to have a four-leaf clover or something on that dash. I don't know how he was able to keep that on all four, and it looks like he's going to get his position back because the caution had already come out, so that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, looking back at the replay myself, he just kind of, he touched wheels. That's what happened. He touched wheels with the leader. Literally came out and landed on all four tires up and over on the catch fence and was able to ride it around the outside. That is one of the most incredible things I have ever seen in my days covering dirt racing, JR.
It absolutely is, and it couldn't have come at a better place. It was right where he could pull right back onto the track, and you can't normally do that at most of the speedways we go to. So that was very interesting. But we'll see if he can make adjustments from what went on those first couple of laps and improve on it going forward.
Well, and with this single file restart, I've got to think that's going to change things up a little bit. John may be forced to go up to the high side, even though we'd prefer to maybe run a little bit lower there going forward. Is that high side just did not look like it was carrying momentum, and indeed it looked like Dan McLaren would have been able to get him in a lap or two had we not gone yellow.
Yeah, absolutely. And John was trying to work that high line, push it up even higher. But I think, like you said, the bumps and the grooves that are being made up there are just not paying off as far as being able to carry that speed. It's slowing the guys down. They're having to really work the wheel as they go through those bumps. So, yeah, I think the guys are going to have to move down a little bit more. And because of those bumps forming, you're probably going to see more guys moving to the bottom, and we're going to get more side-by-side racing here.
You had me at side by side. I'm excited to see that, and I'm sure this field is ready to get back going under green, which it is about to do. Randy Strevis will again take the field to green as the green flag flies. Strevis gets a good jump. That is back in the back there. I believe that is Nick Vickery starting to poke his way forward in that 52 machine. No, excuse me. That is the 52 of Mason Coffey that's been able to get his way by Dan McLaren down on that low side.
Yeah, Coffey really playing that smart on that start, getting the jump on the inside and using the momentum to carry him through the first couple of corners and down the backstretch. So he's moved up to third now. John's continuing to work the very top of the track and trying to move it higher and higher, looking for some moisture on that right rear tire.
And my goodness, Dan McLaren dropping like a stone around here. He's finally able to get everything gathered back up under him, but he lost a couple of positions there off of the start as we've got another yellow flag here at Volusia. Looking back to see, I believe that was the 35 who was involved in, the 36 rather, that was involved in that incident, setting everything off. So we re-rack once again, JR.
Yeah, once again, these guys are going to have to take a deep breath and try to get their mindset back where it needs to be so they can be focused on getting the good jump and the line they need to run going into turn one. So it's starting off as one of those races.
It is indeed, and we talked a little bit about this sort of mental stop-start that you go through as a driver when you get these yellows coming out, but I've got to think for Randy Strevis, he's gotten 2 starts, 2 great jumps on the field. He's got to be feeling pretty frustrated that he's not able to just run away with this thing.
Yeah, I agree with you, DJ. He's I mean, it's tough in any series. Doesn't matter if it's dirt or asphalt. It's tough to get a good jump on the guy behind you. Certainly, the single file start helps with that. But anytime you get that jump, you want to be able to capitalize on it and keep the laps running under green. And he's just not been able to get that so far. But it gives guys like John Hine and Coffey another run here on the restart. And I think John's going to have to pay attention a little bit. I think Coffey's going to try to do that lower line going into turn one, so he may have to kind of block that off.
Well, and how much can you really do to predict that start if you are John Hine? Obviously, they go on the leader here, so it's not entirely up to him, but what can you do?
You have to do everything you can to try to anticipate it, and when you do that, sometimes you miss it big. And if you miss it big, the guy behind you is going to run into you, or he's going to get a huge run and go right by you. So John's got to kind of play it smart. He's leaving a gap here just in case, but he's going to try to anticipate as much as he can.
And waiting for that anticipation, there is Travis getting on the loud pedal as he starts to pull away. Hine able to get a good jump and then diving down to the inside there. That's the 0-0 of Nick Vickery starting to work his way forward. Almost contact. There is contact between Vickery. Vickery goes around, flipping up and down, and yet another yellow in the air.
Yeah, definitely not what Nick wanted there. Just some contact coming off the corner, but that's probably going to end his race.
Yeah, that one looked pretty painful, and that was, I believe, contact between himself and Mason Coffey there, diving into turn 3. And you saw there on your screen just how much they were flipping around there, and that one, very, very brutal.
Yep, it looks like Nick may have been able to get his car turned over here, so maybe he can continue, but he's definitely going to lose a lap. I'm sure he's got a lot of damage.
Yeah, you can't be flipping like that in these sprinters and expect to walk away with it. Parks it on the entrance of pit lane. Not sure entirely what's going on there for that, but we'll let you know here in a little bit. Up front, it continues to be Shrevis and Hine. Mason Coffey, they're behind them. Brian Dickens now is going to inherit that 4th place position. Blake Chapman up into 5th. Another good run there for Chapman.
Yeah, he's continuing to move forward. Looks like he's up 5 spots already, which is pretty impressive. Got some other guys that have moved up 8 spots further back in the field, but he's the highest running one that's made up a lot of ground so far in this race, and we're only 6 laps in.
All right, well, the lights on the Steve King Foundation pace truck are off, so we are ready to get going. Green again here. We will restart on, I believe, lap 5 or 6. Remember, caution laps do not count in this series, so it will be all green flag racing as we get going. And Randy Shrevis leading off here once again. John Hine hoping to have a little bit of a better jump on him. Pace truck pulling off into pit lane. Shrevis getting on the loud pedal. Hine caught napping a little bit, and I think that was the look that Coffey needs. There's that look to the inside for Mason Coffey. Tries to hold it out. Hine's able to carry a little bit more momentum and hold on to that 2nd place for now.
For now, he's still got it. Oh, it looks like he's gotten into the wall a little bit. It's going to slow his momentum down. Coffey may get enough of a run going into 1 here to make a move.
He does. Is he going to try the slider up on John Hine? He is not. He's just going to keep that car down low. Back behind him, Brian Dickens trying to fight off Blake Chapman there as they go into the corner. Chapman on that super duper low line. And Dickens is going to hold it for now, but that is Connor Ross working on the high line in that 35.
And we got another caution on the speedway, DJ.
Indeed, as I'm not sure exactly who caused that one, but it's going to reset the field here on lap 10. A little bit of movement around John Hine. I've got to say I am very, very impressed with our in-race reporter being able to hold on to that 2nd place. I thought for sure he was going to get swallowed up by Coffey on that last run.
Yeah, he did a very good job defending there. It's tough. He's trying to run that high line, and like I said, as that groove has gotten so far up the track, we're to the point now where you've got a really tall cushion that's starting to form, and that's getting very bumpy. And if you just overstep it a little bit, it's going to bounce you into the wall. And he's made some contact with the wall a few times, but been able to keep moving.
Has indeed, and I wonder a little bit if they are able to, if there's a little bit of damage from that flip over onto the wall there for John, and if that could maybe explain a little bit of his loss of pace, but he seems to be keeping up relatively well, JR.
Yeah, he's definitely keeping up well for the ride that he took earlier. I'm sure there's probably some damage. He may have a little bit of a toe problem or something that's occurred, so he's going to have to change his driving style because of that. And yeah, it's going to be a little bit difficult to control the car going into the corner if, in fact, that's what's happened. So he's going to have to run different lines to account for that.
Yes, he is. As we do get ready to go racing here again, 10 laps in the books. We will be starting on, 9 laps in the books. We'll be starting on lap 10 as they work their way around. Randy Strevis continuing to lead. Mason Coffey able to get his way past John Hine into third place. Brian Dickens and Connor Ross now rounding out your top 5 with Blake Chapman always threatening there back in 6th position. He is up 5 on the day. Here we go. Strevis waiting for the green flag to fly. He does have control of the field, so he will be able to go at his discretion. And go he does, cocking that left side wheel into the air as he gets onto the loud pedal. And John Hine not waiting around, diving down to the inside. Contact there. That is Chapman on his lid, flipping around. He has been caught up, and I am amazed we don't have a yellow already.
Yep, stay green here. Big racing behind and Coffee up front for 2nd place. I think they're still trying to get it sorted out back there where contact was made earlier. But Hine and Coffee to continue and go at it down the backstretch.
Yes, they do. That's going to be Coffey trying to throw the slider here. Hine trying to respond, but Coffey able to get the nose ahead. Hine almost into the back, and there is another yellow, JR.
And we'll have to restack them again, and we'll do it all over.
We will indeed. I believe that was the 747 of Roger Craig I saw slow out on track. I'm frankly amazed that we didn't get a yellow for that big incident we saw with Blake Chapman. He was almost flipping coming through 1.
Yeah, it was a big mess back there for sure. Could have been a lot worse. Surprised that the guys were able to keep their cars going for the most part there. So, yeah, just for whatever reason, caution didn't come out. We kept going, and but luckily we got another one here. So the guys that were involved in that, they're going to be able to close back up and regain their composure for this restart. One guy that I'm paying attention to is our in-race reporter, Nick Vickery here. So he's probably got a lot of damage from the ride that he took earlier, but because of everybody else's misfortune, he's continuing to move up a little bit.
Yeah, he is. Looks like he was in 13th place when I last checked on him, so a good move up the field there for him. Blake Chapman in pit lane right now as I check back in. Yes, Nick is in 13th place as we speak. A couple of the big movers on the day. Taylor Wineland up 13. Patrick Spangler up 11. Roger Craig up 13. Christopher Berger up 12. So a lot of heads-up drivers here being able to take advantage of others' misfortune.
Absolutely, and Wineland, like you said, up 13 positions here in 5th place now. I think he's going to be one we need to watch on this restart. We're at the halfway mark, so guys have stayed as calm, I think, as they can be. You're going to have 12, 13 laps here to go to the end, and it's going to be go time. I don't think you can wait anymore.
I think that is about right. And Patrick Spangler and Taylor Wineland making up the bottom half of the top 5. Those are two that I am certainly watching out for. Very, very good drivers that have been able to work their way forward. Keep an eye on the two of them. They are going to be strong, but it's going to be Randy Strevis that leads us off here again. Coffey keeping close behind him. Ooh, a little bit of wheel spin there for Mason Coffey. I think John Hine noticed that. Hine's going to take it up to the high sign, bringing Spangler and Wineland along with him. Coffey able to hold that low line down, though, as they race down into 3.
The low line looking very racy through turns 1 and 2, but looks very slick through 3 and 4 at the moment. You see Coffey kicking the rear end out, Hine getting a run on the top side.
And there, Hine looked like he had a good run mid-corner through 1 and 2, but not able to make it work. We check back on Patrick Spangler, one of those drivers we were noticing. That's Brian Dickens. Ooh, some big contact into the wall, and that is going to bring out another yellow. That's Taylor Wineland.
Not a good situation for him there. He had moved up so many positions in this race, and it's all lost now. Going to be hard to make up anything at this point.
And it looked like that was a little bit of a self-inflicted incident. I don't think I saw any contact there with Wineland. He just got up a little bit high into that groove and got into those bumps that we've talked about many a time from John Hine and caught himself right on those big yellow tractor tires on the outside of the track.
Yeah, that groove is getting a little more evil each lap, I think. And the bad thing is you can run a line one lap and go in there the same way the next lap and it be completely different with the way the bumps form. So, yeah, it's very, very tricky. You got to stay on top of it. And if you miss it, like I said, you can run the same line and miss it the next lap because the track has changed. So, it's very tough. They're going to have to be very careful on that top lane. I think some guys are probably going to start working the bottom a little bit more, at least through 1 and 2, because we saw it pay off for Coffee through there.
We did indeed, and I can report, by the way, that I did go back and check it out, and that was a self-inflicted injury there for Taylor Wineland. Just got too far up and into the groove. 1 lap to go until we go green. John Hyde been able to get his way by Mason Coffey, so he'll be starting again behind Randy Shrevis here, seeing if he can get a better restart. We should restart here on lap 15. As they work their way around right now. Shrevis has led from flag to flag here thus far. Some still good movers behind him. Spangler up 11. Craig and Berger now up 14. So some definite movement in the field. As we wait for that pace truck to pull off into the pits. There it goes, waiting for Randy Shrevis to get on the loud pedal, and he does. Coffey tries to get a little bit aggressive. I think he caught a hair of wheel spin, but able to get a very good line again through 1 and 2. But John Hine carrying a lot of momentum and is going to be able to keep him at bay.
Absolutely. Coffey kind of touching the inside wall there going into turn 1. Slowed his momentum down just a little bit. He's going to have to settle for 3rd and fall in line.
Does indeed. Brian Dickens and Patrick Spangler putting on a little bit of a show there, and that's Andy Patton in the silver 87 starting to poke his nose. Nice little battle here starting to shape up for P4. Oh, big up into the wall, and that was Mason Coffey.
Oh, that's a big player there. We also saw another contact right as the pace car pulled out.
We did indeed. I'm waiting to see. It looks like that may have been Nick Schell. Potentially gets a little bit squirrely when we try to go on these caution laps, not counting. But again, that was another issue there with Mason Coffey, just getting a little bit squirrely up on that super high line, the bumps catching him out, and him taking a one-way ticket into those outside tractor tires. That gap at the exit of turn 4 biting him.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it's continuing to get worse and worse up top, but the reason the guys are still up there is there's so much speed to be gained if you hit it correctly. So these guys are continuing to take that risk up there, but at this point, with the way we keep seeing cautions happen, I think you're going to have to move down a little bit, try something different, because if you get behind one of those guys that makes a mistake, you're going to get caught up in it as well.
Yeah, exactly. As we now ready to re-rack here on lap 16, so 10 to go here at Volusia. We've had a lot of cautions out here today, JR, far more than we're come to expect from this coast-to-coast series.
Yeah, these guys are extremely fast. The racing's always tight, and they always put on a great show. Tonight, the track's been a little more tricky than what I think it's been in the past week. So everybody's going to have to make some adjustments here on this restart. I will say one guy that I'm continuing to watch is Nick Vickery, our in-race reporter. He's moved up from 13th to 8th now after those couple of cautions. So this is starting to pay off for him for sure.
Yeah, it is indeed. He's actually only down one position from his starting spot of 7th, so a good run for Nick. But there we watch as the pace truck pulls in. Randy Shrevis going to take off, and there he goes. John Hine able to keep up close behind him. Ooh, a little bit of battle on the back there. That was Spangler taking a look at the inside of Brian Dickens, but not able to pay off there as they come off of the corner. Shrevis getting a big advantage.
Absolutely, being able to pull away. He's hoping this race stays green because he knows that he's got this one locked up with the speed he's had tonight on the top side. We're continuing to see Dickens and Spangler race hard on the inside there.
And that's Andy Patton again poking his nose there. They've got to be careful. G.J. Boydell starting to get a little bit interested there in the back as well. As they continue to work their way around here now, working on lap 19. Everything's starting to settle down a little bit. Andy Patton trying to make a move on Patrick Spangler, not looking like it's playing out. Brian Dickens trying to challenge John Hine for second.
Absolutely, and like I said, the top side's getting tricky. Everybody's moved down away from that to minimize the risk, but there's a lot of speed up there, so if you want to go try to make some spots up, go up there now.
Well, they're going to have to wait a minute to go up there again because we've had yet another caution flag fly, and I believe this one is in the back again. That outside catching drivers out. The 005 getting caught out. That's Taylor Wineland again getting caught out by those bumps. Excuse me, that's the 51 rather. Getting caught out and sent out of that outside line.
Yeah, it's continuing to get worse and worse, and these are high horsepower vehicles. They're really tearing up the racetrack the more they run on that outside and use up the moisture that's out there. So it's only going to continue to get worse. We've only got five or six laps left here, so not many left. But you kind of know what the track surface is as you're thinking about this restart here, and we continue to see the top two run up top and make a ton of time doing it. Everybody else has kind of moved down to minimize that risk. But if you're somebody that's good at running the top, it may be worth taking a shot, especially if you're around 10th or 8th through 10th or something. Make a move to the high side and try to pass those guys that have moved down.
Could be indeed, and I know one guy that we know that loves to run that high line and can do it quite well is John Hine, who currently sits in second, but he just hasn't seemed to have the pace here for Randy Shrevis, not able to get himself on by.
No, he's not been able to find anything for Shrevis. Hine's fast, but Shrevis is just kind of on a different playing field right now, so he's very comfortable where he's at. He's been able to get great restarts. John's focus, I think, on this restart is to pay attention to what's behind him and what the guy's doing there. So Dickens is going to try to look to get a jump like Coffey was earlier and probably try to make a move to the inside going into one.
Well, let's see if he's able to hold it out when we get going. We will have 5 laps to go here at Volusia. And so waiting for that pace truck to pull in once again. There it goes. Randy Shrebs gets on the loud pedal about the same time he has been each time. There, we're back green again here on lap 21. Not the best start from Brian Dickens as he tries to send it down to the inside, just as you said, JR. But John Hine able to carry the momentum to the high side, but Dickens at least able to be alongside.
He's definitely able to stay alongside. He's going to have to set it up and try to be right. No, he's not able to do it, but he's going to have to be as close as he can side by side and then try to do a slider line, I think, in order to get past John.
Not able to do it there behind him. Patrick Spangler able to inch his way ahead of Andy Patton, but Andy running down on that low line is going to be able to keep it going. Still seeing a couple of drivers working on that high line, that very treacherous high line through 3 and 4, but we are on lap 23 right now, working their way around. It continues to be Shrevis, Hine, and Dickens.
And we have another caution out there. I'm not sure what this one's for at the moment.
Looking back through the field, I'm not entirely sure what happened on that one. Seeing Barker in the back, but I'm not sure if he was there, if there was contact or not. So another caution flag here. This should set up a 2-lap dash to the finish.
Yep, and I think that's going to play into the hands of Shrevis for sure. He's been the master on these restarts. As a restart, as the leader on the restart, you only have so many options that you can really do, but he's been able to play it good all night long and get that jump. So if he gets that jump once again, I don't think anybody's going to be able to catch him in those closing 2 laps. John was making up some ground there, but yeah, just not enough green flag laps left.
Is there any counter that John Hine can give here? I mean, leader has the decision on when to go, so other than running a risk of jumping the start, what can John do here to try to get a better restart than what we've seen him have?
Yeah, really, John doesn't have to jump before the leader or do anything crazy. He just has to try to anticipate and get on the throttle as close as he can to when Shrevis takes off. If he can do that, I think he's going to have to go from the top down to the bottom on the front stretch and try to get to the inside going into one. He's going to have to try to make that move. And it's going to be tricky because if he doesn't get enough traction coming to the start-finish line, he's just not going to be far enough alongside to pull it off, and he may lose second place because of it. So it's tricky. It's it's risk versus reward at this point. Are you willing to go for the win, or do you want to settle and take second?
Well, we'll have to see which one he chooses here. John Hine following Randy Shrevis, who has led every single lap of this race thus far. He's only got to lead 2 more to see the Cool Ray victory lane as the pace truck pulls off. And there goes Shrevis onto the loud pedal. Hine, that's the best start we've really seen him have. Shrevis going to dive down to the low side. Hine up to the high side. Dickens down low as well. Hine's able to carry momentum, but that is a big, big gap up front for Randy Shrevis.
Yep, Randy anticipated that move that John could have made and was able to pull away. We saw John get in the wall and turn 3 and 4 there, and Dickens was able to slip on by.
He was, and now the battle is going to be on for P2 right now, as that's going to be Hine again, flirting with that high side, flirting with disaster, but who is not going to be flirting with disaster is Randy Shrevis. who takes victory here in the 360 Sprint Series. John Hine just able to pip second place away from Brian Dickens as they closed it down. Woo, that was an action-packed couple of laps there. A lot of spicy action, JR.
Definitely a lot happening there for sure for just a two-lap shootout there. Really impressed with Nick Vickery, how he was able to come back from that flip and somehow get that car into 7th place. So that was a great run for him, I think.
And there is your final finishing order. As we said, Travis, Hine, and Dickens making up your podium positions here and taking their cars right now to Coolray Victory Lane. Patrick Spangler was in 4th, followed by Andy Patton, with G.J. Boydell in 6th and Nick Vickery in 7th. Christopher Berger was 8th, followed by Roger Craig, with Barry Goldner, Nathan Aldrich, and Brandon Templeton rounding out your top 12.
In 13th, we got Nick Shell, Blake Chapman 14th, Mike Kramer in 15th, Jeff Barker comes home 16th, Connor Ross in 17th, Gary Taylor in 18th place tonight. 19th will go to Taylor Wineland, 20th Mason Coffey, 21st Andy Piercefield, 22nd Dan McLaren, 23rd goes to Benjamin Kolesh, and 24th will go to Ross Quaranta tonight.
And your Gambler Motorsports Hard Charger Award for this 360 Sprint Series is going to go to Christopher Berger, so congratulations to him. But before we do anything else, we want to talk to our victor, Randy Shrevis. Randy, we're just going to start calling you the master of the restarts because it looked like you were untouchable there. Had a little bit of technical problems there, but Randy, we're just going to have to start calling you the master of the restarts because you looked absolutely untouchable during those many, many restarts out on track. Randy, you got a copy? All right, we don't have anything from Randy, so we're going to go over to you, JR, and I believe you've caught up with our second place driver, John Hine.
Indeed, I have. John, talk us through this race, man. We saw you do a little agricultural driving there earlier. How did that work out for you?
Knocked my steering wheel. The top of my steering wheel was about 2 o'clock if I wanted to go straight after that, which made it real sketchy running that top. I pulled up in front of me, and I didn't have any time to react. And, man, I've never done that before where I've landed outside the park and able to drive it back in and get my spot back. God love those glitches in iRacing sometimes, but that was eventful.
That was definitely one of the craziest things that we've ever seen on a broadcast for sure. And, we had speculated that might have knocked your toe out or done something to your steering. After that, it looked like it was extremely tough up top. Talk us through how that high groove was working and how bumpy it was getting up there.
Yeah, it was getting fairly bumpy up there. I think I could have still been flat-footing it and keeping pace and not spinning tires if I would have had my wheel the right way. And, the track, compare the last couple of weeks, I mean, this track was actually, I thought, in pretty good shape tonight. So I don't know what all the craziness came from, but the top was fine. I mean, it was way bumpier, I think, that first week over in 3 and 4, just able to get through it, I guess.
You definitely did, for sure. Knowing that you had those steering problems, that was extremely impressive up there. Do you think if the race had stayed green for a longer period, do you think you'd have been able to have anything for Randy?
I don't know. That old adage, catching them's one thing, passing is the other. I don't know if I would have had enough car control to turn down or do something without putting me in a bad position, or Randy. And I give guys the benefit of a doubt there. I'm gonna just hope he misjudged it, but that kind of thing goes in the memory bank, and I've raced Randy enough. We've never had a problem on the track, so I don't have any reason to think otherwise. But I just don't think I could have done anything without putting him in a bad position or put me in a bad position and cost us both. Mason and I got pretty racy there, and I'm telling you, rarely do I hold my breath in iRacing, but there was a couple times there I had my breath held and was just praying that the car would do what I was wanting it to do.
It was absolutely some great side-by-side racing that we saw here tonight with the moves that were being made. Tight racing, like you said. But again, congratulations on second place. Anybody that you want to thank for tonight?
Yeah, I like to thank my Gambler Motorsports teammates, good group of guys. We have a heck of a lot of fun in here. I also like to thank Cool Ray Heating and Plumbing. If you're in the Atlanta area, it's winter, you need to get that heater checked on, give them a call. They'll come out and get you to you rapidly. Also would like to thank the cruise shop. If you want to go out and see the world or just take a family vacation, doesn't matter, go out to the cruiseshopfw.com. And then VMR Wraps, go find them on Facebook. They're the one that make this car look real pretty. And man, we covered it in dirt tonight, but it's a sharp car. They do a great job over there.
Well, John, we appreciate everything you've done tonight. Congratulations on that second place run, man.
Yeah, thank you.
And DJ, I believe you've caught up with our third place finisher tonight, Brian Dickens.
I have indeed, Brian. Up 5 spots on the day. You were really slicing and dicing it up there, and looked like you were really making that low line work pretty well.
Yeah, just trying to stay smooth on the bottom there. I know how high, how dicey the top gets, so just trying to stay on the bottom, keep it smooth, keep it out of the way of everybody else.
Well, talk me through there. I mean, it looked like you were really starting to get into a good groove on those many restarts, and you had some chances to get by John, but could you maybe have gotten him if it stayed green, or was it just not meant to be today?
It's just so hard to keep that consistent pace on the bottom when there's just not much moisture down there at all, just trying to keep everything, making every lap the same speed is really, really tough down there on the bottom. So I don't know, maybe, but probably not.
Well, I mean, outside of that, it looked like this track was throwing up a lot more yellows than we were used to seeing. But how did you find it racing out there? Was this a harder track to drive, or were you finding it a little bit racier than in weeks past?
The bottom seemed like it had more speed tonight than it usually does. I don't know. It was pretty racy to me because it was pretty equal from all the way to the bottom to all the way to the top there in the feature. So I think it was pretty racy.
Well, we loved seeing it for sure. But anybody you'd like to thank for this run here tonight to third?
Got to thank Icon Sim Sports, of course. All the guys back at Icon. Best sim rig on the planet. Got to thank Joe and Rob, Brandon, Kurt, Carson, Dole, Ty, all the guys. Got to thank VMR Wraps, Nick Vickery for the awesome looking ride, and that's about it.
Well, all right. Thank you, Brian, and congratulations again on a third place here today.
All right, thank you, man.
That was Brian Dickens, your third place finisher, and that's going to bring us to another break. But do not go anywhere. We've got one more race in store for you here. The Cool Ray Air Conditioning and Heating Pro Late Models Series will be coming at you live just after these quick messages.
our industry.
The lifetime parts and labor warranty is pretty awesome. Basically, all the parts are covered, the labor and everything.
When we say lifetime, we mean lifetime, and it's supported with money-back guarantees. And with that, you're getting all qualified technicians that are going to ensure that this job is done perfectly and operates perfectly throughout the life of the unit.
Learn more about our Coolray lifetime parts and labor warranty at Coolray.com. Coolray and Carrier. Turn to the experts.
Welcome back to the Icon Sim Sports Hometown Heroes Series. We are here for the third and final race here tonight, the Coolray Air Conditioning and Heating Pro Late Model Dirt Series. And JR, we've slapped some fenders onto these cars and put on some weight, but it is still going to be some great racing out on track.
Absolutely going to be some great racing. So now we're going to see a little bit more contact, at least being available to these drivers. These cars typically do a lot of slide jobs, so I think you may see that slider line start to come into play, especially into turn 3 here. Guys may try to enter low and slide all the way up to the top, so I'm going to have to pay attention to that. That may end up being the fastest way around as we get to the B and A mains tonight.
And a lot of the same drivers going to be on display here tonight, but we are ready to go qualifying here for the ABR Setup Shop qualifying session. Drivers get 2 laps to put their cars through their paces. As we watch Brendan Templeton here taking the car around right now as he works his way around and through those final corners, or those opening corners, rather. And JR, what's really the trick to getting the fastest time in these late models? Because they handle so differently than dirt.
They absolutely do, and the biggest thing is trying to keep the car as straight as possible. That becomes harder and more difficult to do as the track slickens off. But yeah, just trying to keep the car as straight as possible as you go through the corner, and that's a lot of the reason why those guys do that slider move as the track slickens off. Just try to drive in straight and slide it all the way up to the track. But right now, that grip's going to be right toward the inside wall.
And right now, John Hine continuing his string of good races, currently on the pole right now. G.J. Boydell and Kemper behind him. Cody Terry bumping his way up there. Kurt Schatzer up into P2 as Brandon Templeton takes that away right there. As we see Tater Williams in the 182 be able to pit pole away from John Hine. We continue to watch all the other drivers here working their way around. Some more fast times coming in.
Yep, guys continuing to put laps down at the moment. Nobody really challenging for that top spot just yet, so we'll see if anybody's able to do that as we close out here.
Will indeed, and now we have the chance to head over to our in-race reporter, Nick Vickery. And Nick, talk us through what it's like running Volusia here in one of these late models.
Man, this is one of my favorite track and car combos here. You know, this track's really, really versatile here in the big body cars. You got guys that can run in the bottom, and you got, guys that can run up around the middle high line. I don't think we'll see the line get all the way up to the wall like we did in the 360s. So hopefully we won't see guys bouncing it bouncing the right rear off the wall. But I think the fast line tonight in the feature is going to be around 1 or 2 lanes off the bottom. That seemed to work really well last week when we were here. And in these cars, man, it's just really about throttle control and not jumping back on the gas too soon, because anytime you get the car spooled up coming off the corner, you're losing that forward drive. So it'd be interesting to see how guys adapt to the track. And like we said last race, the key to one of the keys to the feature is going to be trying to stay ahead of the racetrack. If you're behind, then you're not going to be the fastest car on the track.
Nick, walk us through as this track starts to change from qualifying into the heats and into the mains. Is this car easier to drive as the track slickens off, or harder compared to, say, the 360s? And mostly I'm talking about the over rotation going into the corner.
Yeah, I think these cars are a little bit harder to kind of get off the corner, because if you're not really careful, it's really easy to get this car to spin up. In the 360s and even in the 305s, you got that wing that you can adjust to give you more forward drive and more traction coming off the corner. And these cars, you don't have anything you can adjust. So it's really, the name of the game is throttle control when it comes to getting off the corner.
Well, all right there. Thank you, Nick. We will let you go on and continue your pre-race preparations. As we run down through that order, it looks like Tater Williams, John Hine, Brandon Templeton, Kurt Schatzer, and G.J. Boydell making up your top 5. Looks like it is going to be a very, very close field, JR, as the top 6 separated by just over a tenth of a second.
Yeah, extremely tight for these type of vehicles, so it'll be interesting for sure. Interesting to see where the line is in this first heat.
Indeed it will. And speaking of that first heat, it's presented by the Super Dirt Car Series, and it is going to be led off by Jeffrey Kemper with Andy Piercefield next to him and Kurt Schatzer lining up to the inside of row 3.
In 4th spot will be Tater Williams, 5th place will be Christopher Berger, and 6th will be Randy Shrevis tonight.
And just like the other races that we have seen out here, it's going to be the top 4 automatically advancing. So you want to be in those top 4 to get onto the A main. Now, all drivers will be going to the A main here tonight. It's just a matter of qualifying order. But as we've seen, you want to start as far up as you can, JR.
Yeah, you absolutely do. And knowing that you're locked into that A main, you're going to try to go as hard as you can. You're going to take a little more risk than what you normally would to try to get that good starting spot, I think.
Indeed, as we watch here, waiting for that pace truck to... There's another lap. I miscounted there. As we've got another lap to get going. So we've seen in those 360s that outside line almost a little bit better to get restarted on. Do you think that's going to be the same here, or do you think it's going to be the inside line that takes it away, JR?
Early on, I think the inside line's probably going to be okay, but as we move on, definitely the outside line's going to have more grip. And like Nick was saying, with the tire spin up off the corner, these cars are going to be very tricky with that throttle control. So I think it will continue to move up, but I think the inside line will be okay in these initial heats.
Well, we will have to see the 181 of Jeffrey Kemper now getting ready for that pace truck to pull off the side. The Steve King Foundation pace truck pulling off into the pits, waiting for the green flag to fly. That's a very early start for the outside line, and indeed they've got to check up a little bit. That's a kerfluffle at the start, but Kemper able to lead into the first corner. That's going to allow for the 218 of Jeff Schatzer to be able to get on by, and that's the 175 of Andy Piercefield getting all kinds of train.
Definitely, for sure. The inside line's got a ton of grip right now. You don't want to get too high in the corner at the moment. And, yeah, you see he's going all the way to the back, actually getting in the wall going in turn 1.
Yes, he is. But we've got a nice little battle starting to shape up for P2. That's Kurt Schatzer and Tater Williams trying to drive that car. Tater Williams down to the 1 inside of the 182. Almost 3 wide off the corner. Is that nowhere? That is going to be Schatzer up into the lead.
Great side-by-side racing. 3 wide there for a moment. These guys have a lot of options right now, and they're showing it.
They are indeed. The 182 trying to throw a little bit of a slider there, but not happen. Banging doors coming down the main straightaway. Tater Williams and Kurt Schatzer as they work lap 4. That's the 218 trying to get a better run, but doesn't have it. Jeffrey Kemper looking like he was falling back there a little bit into the clutches of Christopher Berger, but Berger not able to make the move due as they work here out of turn 4 to start halfway through the race.
And right now it looks like Williams and Schatzer are pretty even on speed and the lines that they're running. Right now Schatzer's going to try to look at overcoming what just happened and regain that top spot.
Yes, he is. They get going around. Tater Williams continues to lead here as they get around Kemper and Berger swapping around for that final transfer spot. They've got to be careful because Randy Shrevis there behind is looking very, very attentive in that 56 machine. He may try to pip one of them away and get an automatic transfer into the A main. They come off the corner. Shrevis looks like he's got a little bit of better drive, but that's going to be Kemper falling back now, trying to throw the slider. Is Shrevis not able to make it work?
Not yet, but I think he's going to try to run that inside line and get it going into 3 if he can. If not, he may lose his opportunity here. Looks like he may have lost it.
Lost it indeed as the white flag is in the air as the number 2 Christopher Berger continues to lead Jeffrey Kemper from that 3rd and 4th place position. But up front, it is Tater Williams coming out of turn 4 right now, leading Kurt Schatzer to the flag. Tater Williams, Kurt Schatzer, Christopher Berger, and Jeffrey Kemper, your top 4. Randy Shrevis and Andy Piercefield will have to go back to the B main. A very big heart rate there for Piercefield, who just looked all kinds of out of sorts that entire race.
Yeah, absolutely. With the way the track condition is right now, a lot of grip in the track. If you move out of the groove just a little bit, you're going to lose so much time. It's just going to be very hard to overcome it in this short heat race.
It is indeed. As we get ready for heat race number 2, presented by Pet Partners, it is Nick Schell, followed by Nick Vickery with GJ Boydell lining up in 6th.
And 4th place will be John Hine tonight. Cody Early goes home in 5th, and starting in 6th place will be Mason Coffey.
Indeed it will. So we saw a whole bunch of different lines there, and obviously a little bit of a jumbled start there for Andy Piercefield on that outside line, so we didn't really get a good way to tell who was high and who was low. But what are you thinking here, JR? What's looking good?
I mean, really, right now, the lower portion of the track still got a lot of grip in it for these Pro Late models. I think guys are going to continue to run toward the bottom to middle lanes. The top's going to have to get worked in a little bit more. I think it will by the time we get to the A, and we'll probably start to see it come to fruition in the B main. But right now, I think the bottom of the track's just where the most grip is.
Indeed. So as they continue to go along here, this is going to be Nick Schell leading from Nick Vickery, getting everything to go as they get out and get ready to go under green. Going around right now, Nick Schell just waiting for that pace car to pull in. As there it pulls in, and there, everybody getting on the loud pedal. It's a good start from Vickery. He's able to take the lead away from Nick Schell as they dive down into the corner, working their way around. John Hine getting very interested around the high side.
Absolutely. Nick ran a great line through 1 and 2 and was able to pull away. John got 2nd spot here. He's moving around in the middle lane right now. I'm going to see if he can chase down Nick.
Indeed, John looking very, very aggressive here early on. A little bit of 2x2 in the back, but nothing going just yet. John Hine, though, looking very, very aggressive. Our 2 in-race supporters duking it out. And JR, if I am greatly mistaken, I think that's the first time that we've seen the 2 of them fighting it out.
I believe it is, so it's going to be nice to see how our 2 experts are able to play it out as we close in toward the end of the race. John trying to peek his nose to the inside of Nick at the moment.
And trying to see if there's anything. John looking very, very aggressive. The back of the field has fanned out with Cody Early and Nick Schell making up those final 2 transfer positions, but this is the battle to keep an eye on. John Hine now running a little bit of a slider line, trying to see if he can carry momentum, but that lost him about a car length and a half as they work their way into 1.
It absolutely did, and he's looking around. He knows that if he continues to run the same line as Nick, that's all he's going to do is follow him. So he's trying to find something that's going to gain him a little bit of speed, move around, and see if there's any grip in a place other than where Nick's running.
Indeed, doing a little bit of exploratory here, it looks like, is John Hine. I'm getting the sense he's backed off of the attack, as you said, JR, and is just pretty content to be running around in 2nd place right now. That will be an automatic transfer position as they keep going around that 0-0 Vickery, though, continuing to lead. 2 laps to go here at Volusia.
Absolutely. Everybody in the top 3 is just kind of fanned out a little bit, running their line. They know what their car and what the track's giving them at the moment. 4th place looks like it's heating up just a little bit. Heating
up just a little bit between GJ Boydell and Nick Schmeg. but I think Boydell, the Canadian, is going to be able to hang on to that, as is Nick Vickery, who's going to come out of turn 4 and be able to take victory here in the second heat race presented by Pet Partners. John Hine will follow him to the line, followed by Cody Early and GJ Boydell. Nick Schell and Mason Coffey will have to go back to the B main.
Absolutely, and that does a lot for Nick Vickery, being able to get him a good starting spot tonight over the guys he's racing in points.
Indeed it will, as there you can see that final finishing order as we get ready for the third and final heat race here tonight in the Coolray Air Conditioning and Heating Pro Late Model Series. This third heat race will be presented by the World of Sports podcast, and lining up in pole position for this heat, it's going to be Roger Craig, followed by Cody Terry, with Brett Carlton in third.
Brandon Templeton will be starting 4th, followed by Taylor Wineland, and 6th place goes to Brian Dickens tonight.
All right, so we saw that aggressive driving. We saw some good action going on in that last heat race, but a little bit more spread out, a little bit more, as we said, sort of exploratory, as drivers started to try to figure out what was fast and what wasn't.
Yeah, the track's changing for sure from where it was in qualifying. It's going to continue to do that, and I think these guys are trying to fill out the track a little bit when they have a chance, when they have the space around the guys that they're racing. So if these guys fan out a little bit, I think you'll see the same here. But obviously, like we talked about at the beginning of the race, or in qualifying, these guys are going to try to get everything they can, because every starting spot's going to be very critical. All these guys are making the race, so they know they need the best starting spot as possible. Going to be a little bit aggressive, I think.
Yeah, a little bit harder to get past in these pro late models than it is necessarily in those sprinters. So definitely the impetus to try to get ahead. And Roger Craig in that very animated, let's call it, livery. I do love that 747 machine. As he waits for the Steve King Foundation pace truck to pull off. And there it goes off into the inside, waiting to get on the loud pedal as the 747 of Roger Craig. And there he goes on it, but it's a better start for Cody Terry along the outside. He's going to try to carry momentum. And that is a bang into the wall for the 747, almost driving Brandon Templeton up the track. He is all kinds of sideways. Templeton and Britt Carlton now up into second and third. Oh, big into the wall, though. That is Templeton getting it all wrong.
Big time wrong there. Into the tire barrier in turn 4. That'll end his heat for tonight. We're down to 5 cars racing out. Looks like people have single filed out at the moment.
They have indeed, and to reset that order, it's Cody Terry, Brett Carlton, Brian Dickens, Roger Craig, and Taylor Wineland. Wineland trying to hold on and grab on that final transfer spot. The best battle we have on track, though, is Brett Carlton and Brian Dickens as they work their way around right now. That is Dickens trying to slide that very bright purple, yellow, and black machine around the track, trying to find a little bit of an angle to get on by.
And I like what these two guys are doing. They're running different lines, but running nearly the same lap times at the moment, trying to find what's fast and what's not. Yeah, this is really good, seeing the track widen out and getting those multi-grooves working.
Makes me very excited for when we get this full field into this race. We can see some definite 2 or 3 wide action from these pro dirt late models as they continue to work their way around. Cody Terry leading really pretty much untouched up front. Brett Carlton's been able to pull away a little bit from Brian Dickens as we cross over here working lap 6.
Yeah, guys just kind of settling in. These top 3, they know what each other have. I don't think we're going to see anything crazy out of these guys. They're going to just wind out the laps here and bring it home.
Yeah, again, just doing a little bit of that exploration, seeing where some of the grip can be, especially these guys that aren't going to have a chance to go out during the B main and get a feel for what the track will do as they continue to work their way around. Getting ready to take the white flag is Cody Terry, and take it he does here at Volusia Speedway. That 25 continues to be out into the lead, a little bit sideways there from Brett Carlton coming off of turn 2, but he's able to collect it back up under him, and Cody Terry, untouched here pretty much in this race, is able to take victory in this third heat race, followed by Brett Carlton and Brian Dickens. Roger Craig recovering to be able to hold on to that 4th place after a very, very sketchy start. Taylor Wineland will have to go back to the consolation with Brandon Templeton.
It was nice at the end of the race seeing Brett kind of explore the very bottom of the track, seeing what they've got. Not a lot of guys have done that, but he has that in his memory bank now and knows what to do moving forward.
Yes, he does. As there you see that final finishing order as we get ready for the B main event presented by Chip Bangers Racing. Only 6 cars in this. All will transfer, but this will determine the starting order in the A main for these back drivers. Randy Strevis will be lining up in P1, followed by Nick Schell with Taylor Wineland in P3.
Yeah, starting P4 will be Andy Piercefield, followed by Mason Coffey, and in P6 running out the field will be Brandon Templeton.
Indeed, it will. So we saw some drivers experimenting with that low line. Do you think that's going to start to come in, or is this still going to be relatively high around here, JR?
I think it's still going to be relatively high as we move on here. The groove's going to continue to fan out a little bit higher and higher. We did see Brett kind of running the bottom there at the end of that race, but it looked like it was not the fastest line. So it's nice if you have some room or a gap between you and the guy that's behind you to try that out and just see what works and see if it fits your driving style or not. But I think the groove's going to continue to move up just a little bit.
Well, we'll have to see if that is the case. I'm kind of hoping that we'll be able to see some aggressive drivers working down to the low side. Race control just giving the last orders over to the drivers. No cautions here in this 10-lap event. And as we said, all drivers will transfer to the A main. Randy Strevis will be lining up here, ready to get the field and bring it to green with Nick Schell to his outside and Taylor Wineland and Andy Piercefield behind them, waiting for it all to line up here, just waiting. And there goes the green flag. That's a good start from Randy Strevis. He is able to pull that car ahead, and that is going to be Nick Schell looking very aggressive to try to get around Taylor Wineland.
Absolutely. Looks like Wineland was able to pull that off and get the second spot. He's already using that high line, trying to get a run on Strevis coming off of turn 4.
He's going to try to get a run, but Strevis has about a 2.5, 3 car length advantage as they dive into turn 2. They are single file here as they work their way around Taylor Wineland and Nick Schell, trying to decide who is going to be in that second place position. Neither one of them look like they're necessarily gaining, but I think that's Schell diving a little bit lower onto the track there, just trying to see if there's a little bit more grip on that mid to low line.
Absolutely. They're starting to work it. Oh, he over-rotates a little bit through turns 1 and 2, loses a lot of ground to the leaders.
Does indeed, and that's going to give Andy Piercefield some ideas. He's going to pilot that 175 around to the outside. He has got the momentum and got it done. Brandon Templeton trying to work that super low line there, but not playing out to his advantage in that 31 Icon Sim Sports machine, trying to get it going to the best of his abilities. He's able to draw up alongside a little bit as we've got a little bit of a battle up front. This is Taylor Wineland starting to get interested in the lead from Randy Strevis.
Absolutely. He's working that bottom a little bit more each lap, trying to get a run. He's going to have to get side by side down the backstretch in order to have a shot, I think, at making a slide job going into 3. Wasn't able to do it the previous lap.
Wasn't able to do it the previous lap and lost out some time, and that allowed for Andy Piercefield to kind of catch up to the back of him a little bit. We are half distance here in this B main event. Wow, that is a super low line for Brandon Templeton, trying to get very aggressive with the 175. 175 over-rotates a little bit through the corner, and that may be the opportunity that Templeton needs.
I think it is. He's going to be able to slide up off of turn 2 here and get that position. Actually, he's going to run the lower line through there and get the distance cut on him. So, still, anyway, Templeton able to take that 3rd spot.
Able to take it away. Ooh, very squiggly in the back there for Nick Schell as 2, 3, 4 running very, very close together here as they work their way around Brandon Templeton, continuing to run that low line, but that's Taylor Wineland looking a little bit interested on the high side.
Yeah, Wineland's lost some speed the last couple of laps. I don't know if he got into the wall a little bit and has affected his car somewhat, but Templeton's really making that inside line work at the moment.
Yeah, it really, really is. And there it looks like Taylor Wineland says, I want some of that, but gets a little contact in the back from Andy Piercefield. Piercefield runs the car high, able to get it there around him as they take the white flag here at Volusia. Randy Strevis continuing to lead. Brandon Templeton now looking into a little bit of a field of his own as the cars separate out here on the final lap in this B main event. And that is going to be Randy Strevis coming over and crossing the start-finish line to take victory. Brandon Templeton behind him with Andy Piercefield in 3rd, Taylor Wineland in 4th, and Nick Schell, I believe, had a disconnect halfway through the race.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate for him. Not a lot that he could do about that. So kind of taking it out of his hands. Hopefully he can rejoin before the A main here.
And we now take over a look at those B main results. As we said, Trevis, Templeton, Piercefield, Wineland, Shell, and Coffee there. Your final finishing order. Coffee didn't even grid up there, so I'm not sure. I'm seeing a manual disconnect from him, so it looks like he is not in the server. But now, as drivers head out on track for the 3-minute warm-up session, we can turn things over to our in-race reporter, Nick Vickery, to tell us a little bit about how this track is shaping up in these pro late models.
Yeah, it's been a little while since I've been on the track, so it's definitely changed a lot from the heat races. It still feels really good here in the middle. I think the next lap around, I'm going to try and run the bottom and see how that feels. Starting the feature here on the outside front row, I think I'll spend the majority of my time up top. But I know that Tater's really good on the bottom. He's shown that in the last couple of weeks we ran here. So it'll be interesting to see how we make it through turns 1 and 2. But as far as the overall track state, it looks really, really good. Still a lot of grip in the middle and still a decent amount on the bottom. So we'll have to see how it plays out.
Absolutely, Nick. Talk to us about the track surface itself. Is it getting bumpy out there, or are these cars not really teared up as much as the 360s?
Yeah, it's pretty bumpy on the front stretch, and I think you'll see that as the night gets going. Here about midway through the feature, guys that are running the bottom, it's really, really sketchy coming off turn 4, just because when you're coming all the way across the race surface on the front stretch, it's just like you're bouncing in your seat, and when you're sitting at your desk, you're kind of bouncing too, because you're trying to make sure that you don't miss anything. And it makes for a good race, but yeah, it's definitely bumpy. I don't think it's quite as bumpy as the top in the 360s. It's really, really bumpy up against that wall, but it definitely does its fair share of lumps, that's for sure.
Definitely tonight. We've seen a lot of cautions. Those were in different cars in the sprints. How do you think this race is going to play out in these pro late models? Think it'll be more green flag?
Well, there's definitely not as many cars here in the pro lates as it has been in the 305s and 360s. And last week we had a really similar car count, and if I remember correctly, we had a lot of green flag runs there. I think we had 2 or 3 cautions last week. So I'm hoping that we can repeat it, and there's not a whole lot of cautions here tonight.
Hopefully so, man. You guys have put on a great show so far tonight. Look forward to this race, and we appreciate you taking the time to spend the night with us and give us some updates, man.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
That was Nick Vickery, our in-race reporter, as we tick down on the final moments of warm-up here, getting ready to go racing for the Cool Ray Air Conditioning and Heating Pro Late Model Series. JR, it is for sure going to be a good race out here. A little bit of a smaller field than we're used to, but nonetheless, some great excitement out on track, I am sure.
Yeah, for sure. And a shorter field can sometimes put on some better racing, so it'll be interesting to watch.
It will indeed. In your starting order today, it's going to be Tater Williams lining up in pole position, followed by Nick Vickery with Cody Terry in third and Kurt Schatzer in fourth. Our own John Hine will be fifth, followed by Brett Carlson with Christopher Berger and Cody Early lining up behind them, and Brian Dickens in ninth, Jeffrey Kemper rounding out your top 10.
And starting in 11th place tonight will be G.J. Boydell. 12th place is Roger Craig. 13th tonight will be Randy Shreves. 14th will be Brandon Templeton. 15th, Andy Piercefield. 16th, Taylor Wineland. 17th will be Nick Shell, and followed by him will be Mason Coffey, rounding out the field in 18th.
All right, so we have not seen this many pro late models out on track quite yet, but it is going to be good. 30 laps here, JR. It is for sure going to have some excellent racing, and I, for one, am very excited to see it get going as the pace truck continues to lead it around. And once again, the pace truck here tonight, sponsored by the Steve King Foundation. If you are unfamiliar with it, the Steve King Foundation was formed to help the dirt track racing community across the country by providing financial assistance to drivers, pit crew members, racing officials, track operations personnel, or the immediate families of those individuals who suffer serious illness, injury, or death. Check them out at stevekingfoundation.org. Again, a great charity, and I highly encourage all of our viewers to check them out. They are doing some great work out there. But JR, it's the last race here of the night. It's predictions time. Who are you looking at?
Well, definitely, one of the guys that's toward the top in points is Randy Shreve. So he's starting back in 13th and kind of had a slow start to the night, but maybe his driving style just kind of fits the slicker track, and we've not quite gotten there. So we've got a lot of cars on the track now, the most we've had all night. This is gonna change the track pretty quick, so we'll see how things work out.
I think we will indeed. And for me, the guy I've got my eye on, call me biased, but it's going to be Nick Vickery starting off on the outside of row 1. Waiting here for that Steve King Foundation pace truck to pull off. There it goes, waiting for Barney to wave the flag. There goes the flag. Here comes the Thunder. We're racing at Volusia. Tater Williams off to a great start. Nick Vickery not the best one, as that's going to be Cody Terry trying to slot that 25 in behind him, and that is Kurt Schatzer looking at just goodbye.
Everybody trying to work their way up to that top spot. A lot of guys having to stay down because the guys on the outside just have the momentum. People moving around, continuing to try to get in there. Looks like we're going to single file out a little bit up front.
Going to single file out a little bit up front, and that is going to be Kurt Schatzer under a big attack there from Brett Carlton. A lot of sideways there behind, some bumping and banging as they get onto the front stretch, but no yellow flag. Everybody able to keep the cars pointed the straight way as we watch John Hine here up a position into 4th place, and he is starting to look on Cody Terry.
Absolutely working that middle groove at the moment where some of the slick is, but there's still speed there. He's able to hold that inside line, still working him over as we go into turn 1.
Riding on board here with 7th place Cody Early. That's taking a look up at Kurt Schatzer and Brett Carlton as they swap around in positions. You can also see Hine there, who was just able to throw a slider ahead of Cody Terry. That was a nasty move there from John Hine. You love to see that kind of racing here in the Dirt Late Model Series.
Yep, they can definitely put the elbows out a little bit more in these cars. They've got fenders on them. They can make some contact if they need to, and a lot of these guys are going to start to do that as we go on into this race.
Continuing to watch there, Brett Carlton working his way around there in that 224 machine. Looks like Kurt Schatzer's got a little bit of a run to his outside, and indeed that 218 is going to try to hold it around the outside there. But I think if he can just slide it on up, yes, indeed, Carlton's going to be able to hold on to that 5th place position. Now he's going to get a little bit greedy, starting to poke his nose up ahead to Cody Terry, but that's not going to work.
Nope, not yet. That outside line on the backstretch still has a lot of grip, being able to get you speed going into turn 3, but he's continuing to try to work that bottom lane, and I think as this race goes on, that bottom's going to get more and more prominent.
And that is what we are seeing Brett Carlton run to good effect. But there, Cody Terry making the outside work, showing him what a little bit of momentum looks like as he's able to take that that 25 machine up to the outside, carries that momentum around. It looks like that low line a little bit better through 1 and 2, but not quite gripping in yet through 3 and 4.
Not yet. Still got a ways to go. This track's going to continue to change. We're only a third of the way through this thing at the moment, but great to see that we've got side-by-side racing.
Very good side-by-side racing, focusing a little back in the field. That's G.J. Boydell all the way back in 11th place in that 014 machine. He is trying to get by Andy Piercefield right now, but Piercefield putting up a stout defense to the outside, jumping back over to Brett Carlton, though. Carlton throws a little bit of a slider, and that is going to hold off Cody Terry for the time being.
Absolutely. Great move by him. Very clean, doing that slider move the way that he did. Interesting to see if he can pull away from Carlton a little bit, or from Terry a little bit, and try to chase down John Hine.
Well, Hine has built up about a 1.7 second advantage. Oh my goodness, talk about a kerfluffle. This is all the way back in 7th and 8th place. This is Cody Early, Kurt Schatzer, Dickens, and Kemper. Boydell getting interested in this as well. This is a whole hornet's nest.
It absolutely is. These guys cannot get away from each other at the moment. Very, very close on lap times, and they're 3 wide through this track. This is just amazing driving by these guys.
It just shows you the talent level that all these guys have as Schatzer's able to pull out a good run. Jeffrey Kemper here moving his way up, starting to separate out back a little bit. That's the 122 and the 175 of Dickens and Piercefield side by side, as that's going to be Jeffrey Kemper trying to dive down to the inside of Kurt Schatzer, seeing if there's anything doing there. Oh, that was the 3 almost around, but Cody Early catches it.
Great job by him hanging on to that thing. That inside line is going to continue to get a little bit slicker. It's going to be fast, but if you over-rotate just a little bit, you're going to lose a ton of time. These guys are continuing to work the top spots right now. Looks like we have Kemper up there trying to hang off these guys.
Indeed, Kemper and Schatz are very close to one another as they work that high line through 3 and 4. That's the 175 down to the inside of Andy Piercefield trying to get something. There goes Kemper diving down to the inside of Schatzer, but nothing doing. He can't get the crossover, and he's forced to fall back into line.
Absolutely is. Andy Piercefield there, he's one of the big movers right now, moved up 6 spots already. He's going to try to continue to do that, but he's under attack at the moment.
He is indeed under attack. There's a slide job attempting to get thrown by the 122 of Brian Dickens, but that didn't exactly pay off. Dickens had to check himself up, and that's going to allow for Andy Piercefield to be able to carry that speed around. Ooh, almost contact there, nose to tail between Schatzer and Kemper as those two continue to battle as well.
Absolutely. We have the 56 of Sharief's trying to get that inside line right against the wall working, and he's slowly starting to make ground on Dickens and Piercefield.
Is indeed. I'm very surprised we haven't seen Shreves be able to move up the order thus far. He's only up 3 spots. Piercefield, as you said, the big mover, up 6. There goes Shreves trying to get something, trying to get anything down to the inside. Not able to get it done. Dickens is going to be able to hold it out there. But up ahead of them, Kurt Schatzer was passed by Jeffrey Kemper, but Schatzer not giving up the ghost quite yet.
Nope, continuing to fight hard right now. Inside line is still very good, but I think as the race goes on, we've only got 10 laps left, that outside line is going to continue to push up and up and up, and that just means you're going a longer distance around the racetrack, so that inside line can still be key here.
Yes, it can, as we keep our eyes focused on that battle with Schatzer and Kemper. Kemper holding the high line around, carrying good momentum. Is trying to see what he can get going. Kurt Schatzer in the 218 looking a little bit squirrely. Oh, we've got a car around, and that's going to bring out the first yellow.
Absolutely is, and I believe that was Shreves getting involved in that.
It was indeed. I'm not sure if that was contact that caused that or if that was a little bit of his own doing. Oh, no, it was contact between him and the 14 there of G.J. Boydell, and that's what spins Shreves around.
Yeah, it absolutely looked like something we talked about earlier in the broadcast. He trying to run that line that was fastest for him, taking a little bit of an arc, getting into the corner, and just kind of opened the door for somebody to get their nose in there, and contact was made.
Disappointing to see it go under yellow here at this point. We had run 22 laps under green, so when we get restarted, only an 8-lap shootout to the end. Tater Williams leading from flag to flag. Nick Vickery's been able to be relatively close behind him, but not quite close enough to close it down.
No, he hasn't yet, but you know, this caution gives him an opportunity on the restart to try to do something going into turn 1, so we'll have to see how that plays out.
Yeah, we will indeed. This is really going to change things up. And there you see Tater Williams doing a little bit of weaving, probably just trying to get some heat into those tires. Track temperature has dropped a little bit as night has fallen. It's now down to 66 degrees Fahrenheit. So obviously just trying to figure things out, maybe trying to figure out where that good bite point is to get off the line as well, looking low there.
Absolutely, he's trying to see where the grip is in the track for the restart, but also, you know, there's a sweet spot for tire temperature. So if you're good at getting that tire temperature where you need it to be, that can gain you some grip off the corner coming to the start-finish line. So doing multiple things there, and I think these guys know what they need to do. They've got their game plan. But again, Vickery's going to have to try to find a way going into turn 1 to get around Williams. I think he's going to have to do the opposite.
I think he will indeed. It's just going to have to be putting your car where the other car is not. But as the Steve King Foundation pace car pulls off, that is a very early start from Tater Williams, not wanting to get any sort of jump from behind from Nick Vickery. But John Hine finding himself in a little bit of problem as that's Brett Carlton starting to poke his nose down to the inside there for third.
Absolutely. Williams got a big start there. Vickery's trying to use that inside line through 3 and 4 to close up, and did a little bit there. Back behind him looks like John Hines still trying to hold off Carlton, who's working the inside as well.
Yes, he is, but the field's starting to space themselves out just a little bit more here. John Hine carrying some good momentum, running a slider line. I think that may have been a little bit of a defensive slider. If you thought this battle was going away, by the way, this is Jeffrey Kemper and Kurt Schatzer. This battle just continuing on around here, the 181 and the 218, just continuing to slug it out.
They just cannot get away from each other during this race. They're very close on lap times, running very similar lines on the corners. So yeah, just not able to get away from each other. It's probably going to stay like this the entire race.
I have to imagine it would. And you know what else is closed down? That's the battle for P2. That is Nick Vickery under all kinds of attack there from John Hine. Hine trying to run the high line there. Not able to work now. Hine's going to go low a little bit. Vickery trying to hold him off to the best of his abilities, but they're going to be side by side as they exit turn 2.
Absolutely. Both of them have kind of been working the low line, but John's been able to make the most ground, and he's trying to do that late model slider line and gain some time as we come off the corner here.
He's trying to dive it down again, but not able to get the crossover. He's got to check himself up and blunt his momentum ever so slightly as they come out of turn 2. And they work their way down and around here again, running that slider line, but it's just not seeming to carry the momentum that John would like it to. And indeed, Tater Williams taking the 2 laps to go sign here out in the lead.
Absolutely. I think these guys have lost their opportunity to make a move as we're coming to the white flag off of 3 and 4 this time by.
We are indeed, and John Hine now finding himself in a little bit of trouble as Brett Carlton starting to get very interested in the back of that 71 machine. Hine running a little bit of a defensive slider, Carlton following in his tire tracks, but he's going to have to keep his eyes open, but we're going to have to focus on the leader here, Tater Williams, as he crosses the line to take victory. Nick Vickery in P2, John Hine P3 to round out your podium.
Great racing by these guys. Very few cautions. These pro late models really put on a good show here at Volusia. So great racing tonight.
Fantastic racing, and the Gambler Motorsports Hard Charger Award for this race, well, that's going to go to Brandon Templeton, who was able to come home in P8, up 6 positions on the day. You see your top 3 there pulling into Cool Ray victory lane as we run you through the final finishing order here. Tater Williams able to take victory from Nick Vickery and John Hine, with Brett Carlton coming home P4 and Christopher Berger rounding out your top 5. Jeffrey Kemper was P6, followed by G.J. Boydell with Brandon Templeton in 8th, Cody Terry in 9th, and Randy Shreves in P10.
Coming home in 11th place tonight is Brian Dickens, followed by Cody Early. 13th goes to Nick Shell. Andy Piercefield in 14th, followed by Kurt Schatzer in 15th. Roger Craig comes home 16th tonight, and Taylor Wineland in 17th. Mason Coffey follows out the field in 18th place.
And we are lucky enough to be joined by our winner here in the booth, Tater Williams. Tater, that looked like it was just about as easy of a victory as you could have here running these cars. You just absolutely dominated that race.
Oh yeah, I got a good restart there with 8 to go, and I knew I had a pretty good car up under me. As long as I just stayed out of trouble and didn't hit anything, I was pretty much going to be alright. So I just kind of rode my line, and I found the bottom there with about 5 to go and was able to pull away pretty good.
Any worry about that line change? And we were really keeping an eye on it throughout the night, and obviously you were able to read the track just right, but did you have any fear that Nick would be able to find something behind you?
I did, yeah. I started hitting 9s the line I was running, and I knew that wasn't going to be fast, so I had to search around for something, and under that caution I kind of rolled around the bottom in 3 and 4 and noticed it was there, so I ran my line for the first couple laps after that restart and decided to go to the bottom, and the car hooked up pretty good down there, and we were able to pull away and get the dub.
Well, Nick was obviously the championship leader going into the race, but is this a little bit of a statement of intent that you're going to try to challenge that going forward?
I'm not too for sure. I got a big series starting up here in February, so I'm not sure if I'm going to get to run for the points or not, so we'll just play it by ear and see how it goes.
Well, we'll play it by ear as well for you, Tater. Anybody you'd like to thank for this victory here tonight?
First of all, I got to thank Andy Piercefield over at Cool Ray, all my guys back at Chip Bangers Racing, you guys and Roger, and everybody associated with Coast to Coast, and the broadcast here, and just Combs Cuts, B&B Bates, everybody that supports me.
Well, thank you so much. That was your winner here in the Pro Late Model Series, Tater Williams. And now, JR, I believe you have caught up with our second place finisher, Nick Vickery.
Indeed, I have, DJ. Nick, walk us through your race tonight. This one did not have many cautions. Did that play into your hand, or do you feel like you could have used a few there?
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to see that first caution come out. And, like Tater said, he got a really good jump on that last restart. And, they're probably middle part of the race. I was starting to reel him back in a little bit. Tater's always fast anywhere we go. So, I'm not surprised that he was pulling away there at the beginning part of the race. And, I was hoping to stay green because we had a decent distance back to third. And, I was hoping that we could stay green so him and I could just duke it out and throw sliders with each other and just make it interesting to watch. But, the caution come out, and I spent the better half of the second part of that race just trying to maintain my spot. I feel like John might have been a little bit faster than me on the bottom, especially in 3 and 4. The relative definitely closed in a lot every time we went into 3 and 4. So I knew he was getting a good run into the corner, but was able to hold down second and bring it home. So definitely good points tonight.
Absolutely great racing between you and John as the laps closed out there. Just tell the viewers how the track changed tonight and what your line was because of that.
Yeah, it got a little slicker in the middle or 1 or 2 lanes off the bottom than I would have liked it to. That's typically my preferred line here in the Pro Late models is to just coast that 1 or 2 lanes up from the bottom and then get on it hard coming off the corner. But it just didn't quite work out like that tonight. I felt like you either had to be running the extreme bottom or running right above the slick in the middle of the track, and it just wasn't enough there to catch Tater tonight. But we'll try again either next week or the week after.
I know it wasn't the first place that you were chasing tonight, but second place, great finish, great points night for you. Who do you want to thank for that run tonight?
Yeah, first I got to thank the guys over at Spartan. I don't think anybody ran tonight. I think Dan McLaren might have ran a little bit earlier, but definitely got to thank those guys. They're always there for support and all that stuff. So after that would be SPGC 3D printing. If anybody there has any 3D printing needs, definitely go check out Tom Taylor on Facebook. If anybody there needs a wrap, go check out VMR Wraps on Facebook. It's a good group of guys, and they put out some pretty awesome paints. After that would be Mirror Image Auto Spa. My wife for letting me do this, and then of course you guys for putting on a great show every week.
Yeah, we appreciate it, Nick. Thank you so much for everything you did tonight and being our in-race reporter. So thank you, man.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having me.
DJ, I believe you have now caught up with our third place finisher, John Hine.
I have indeed, and John, you really had to scrap for that third place out there. It looked like you were almost always involved in a battle.
Yeah, it felt like it. You guys know I've been battling COVID, man. I'm telling you, this third one was probably a bit too much. I spent the last 10 laps trying not to pass out. I don't know how the hell I made it to the end, but at least it kept me busy and not thinking about it's funny. I guess I found something else that translates to real life. Once the green goes and you get going, you're concentrating, and you tend to forget about those ailments, and then that caution come out. Oh my gosh, in real life, if you're in that car and, whether it be 100 degrees outside, you're hot, you don't pay attention to any of that, caution comes out, you realize, wow, I'm cooking. Incredible night though. 3 podiums, 3 races. I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, it's got to feel good. And talk to me about those closing couple of laps, because it looked like you were starting to throw a little bit of a modified slider line there. Was that defensive, or were you just trying to gain some more speed around or to try to get by Nick?
Actually, that modified slider allowed me to pull back up onto Nick and reel those 2 guys, or at least once we went back green and they could catch it. I saw Tater kind of doing that a little bit, but I did it just a little bit. I took just a slightly later entrance than I think than what he was doing, and keeping the car a little straighter. And I was getting really good runs coming out of 2. Nick was strong over in 3 and 4 there, and I needed just a little bit more maybe to get around him over there. But all in all, like I said, third place behind those 2 guys. Again, I can't hang my head about that.
Well, finally, I got to ask you, because you've been on the podium 3 times. What's your favorite car here to drive out of the 3 that we've just seen you on?
late model, hands down. Pretty close to the 360. I'll say it's a tie between 360 and the late model. If we ripped all the engines out of the 305s and just used the chassis as spares, it wouldn't hurt my feelings any.
I got you, John. Well, anybody you want to thank for yet another podium here tonight?
Yeah, it sounded like a broken record all night. I want to thank my gambler teammates. I know I'm biased, but I think I got the best team in iRacing, and I want to thank Andy over at Cool Ray Heating and Plumbing. And like I said, it's winter. You know what? If you feel like your heater's not pumping out the heat you want it to, or just feels like it's acting up, you're in the Atlanta area, give these guys a call. They'll get out to you promptly, get you situated, and get you fixed up to get you through the rest of winter. Also want to thank the cruise shop. If you're looking to travel, whether it be a family getaway, romantic getaway, whatever the case might be, go out to the cruise shop, fw.com, get a hold of Brenna. She'll send you anywhere in the world you want to go. Got to thank that knucklehead that hung out with you guys over Mick up there at VMR Wraps for putting the wrap on this car too. Did a pretty good job. Did a really, really good job actually. And you can find them out there at Facebook. And when you do it, just say, just tell them John sent you, and make sure you call him the knucklehead.
We'll be sure to do that. Thank you so much, John, and congratulations again.
Yeah, you can tell I'm bitter about following that homicide back Finnegan. So I know Nick can hear me right now, and I'm sure he's laughing. So we're buddies. So it's not a call out, rest of the league. But anyway, you guys have a good week, and thank you guys again for doing the broadcast. You guys did a wonderful job, and everybody watching, thank you very much out there watching out there in the virtual world.
Well, when you guys put on action like that, I know we are more than happy to. But that is about going to wrap things up for us. But before we like to go, we would like to thank our many sponsors for tonight's event, including Icon Sim Sports, A&J Custom Creations, ABR Setup Shop, Cool Ray, Sim Racer Hub, the Super Dirt Car Series, Pet Partners, the World of Sports Podcast, Mara Farm Management, PA Posse, Gambler Motorsports, and Chip Bangers Racing. Be sure to check out the Coast to Coast Racing Network on YouTube and click subscribe to catch all of the Coast to Coast Racing League action, including joining them on Monday Night Madness from 8 to 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time as Marty Zaleka and SJRN showcase all the Rebels and Renegades action. Tune in on Tuesday nights as Icon TV brings you Tops Tuesdays, and on Wednesday nights here from 7 to 10 Eastern, it's the Icon Sim Sports Hometown Heroes Series live on the Virtual Grip Network from Volusia Speedway. Also, hang out with Xtremes Esports TV for Thursday Night Thunder featuring Dirt Modifieds and the Kings of Dirt Series from 7 to 10 Eastern, and Icon TV returns on Friday nights with the Icon Sim Sports Friday Night Lights, bringing you street stocks, limited late models, and finishing with the 360 Sprinters. The next race for the Coast to Coast Hometown Heroes Series, well, that's going to be next Wednesday, January 19th, right here on VGN at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. The next broadcast on the Virtual Grip Network will be the BRL Dirt Street Stock Series live from Weed Sport on Friday, January 14th at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern. We'll be back for that race at Volusia and that race at Weed Sport. This has been a production of the Coast to Coast Racing Network and the Virtual Grip Network. And until we see you on the track, thanks for watching.